What's up, people? Hotep Jesus. I'm back. Another uncomfortable conversation. It's been a crazy uh, 2 weeks of streaming. We had a great episode of Hotep's Been Told You last night. If you guys haven't caught that, go ahead, give that a listen. Amazing, amazing episode last night. We're getting better. We had over 800 live viewers, which is our new record. And that podcast just keep getting better. It's doing really well. Um, Last week I spoke to John McAfee. That interview was wild. That's also on his channel with him and Janice on the run from the United States government and, or I should say, the SEC and the IRS, I guess. Um, I spoke to Young Pharaoh. That was a very controversial video. That video now has over 100,000 views on it. Insane video. Not for everybody. Some of you people, you might get offended by some of the things he said, especially if you were offended by some of the Candace comments this week. You're definitely going to be offended by some things Young Pharaoh said, but kid's very brilliant, very smart, talented, and has a lot of good information. It was a great chat. It's gone viral. It's completely gone viral. Um, if you're not familiar with me, I spend most of my day reading and working on tech companies. I have three tech companies I'm involved with now. All of those in the description box below. Tap those links. Most notably, if you're investing in Bitcoin, we have a Bitcoin investing app. Coinbitsapp.com allows you to invest in Bitcoin automatically. I'm in AI. I got Jiffertize. We got Wazo. Great companies, and I'm looking to have add another companies to portfolio. Somebody reached out to me today, a close associate of the HOTEPS, and offered 100K to or better to invest in one of my businesses. So that's going to be a fun next few weeks to work through details of that. But great things are coming. But without further ado, I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today. Very interesting lady, very attractive woman. I know a lot of things that come along with that. So we're going to be diving into this guest's life and some cancel culture things have happened with her. Martina, what's up? How are you? How you feeling?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on the channel. Um, so we're let's see. I want to start here.
Yeah.
Um, I just found out you're in New York.
Yeah.
How different are we as Northeast Coast people different from the rest of the country? Like our upfrontness, rudeness. It's almost like we have this "I don't give a up" attitude, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I never really realized it because I was like born and raised in New York. So it's like, I thought it was just like normal. But then when
Yeah,
you go out somewhere else, you realize like how fast I talk, how like intense I am. And like we work hard. That's something that I realize, especially like the difference between like the West Coast. Now, I'm not saying middle America or anything, but like the Cali vibe is just so like laid back. They're all about like talking big, it's a lot of bullshit talk. No
yeah,
offense, anyone, but that's like the Hollywood vibe. But I just feel like New Yorkers or like Northeast, whatever, Jersey included, all that is that like the tri-state area. We're really intense and we work really hard.
yeah,
Like we're about like showing like how hard we work over like talking a lot of game.
yeah. Intense is definitely the word. A lot of people have some choice words for me and my attitude, and I'm like, have you guys ever been to the East Coast? Because
Yeah.
we're, for the most part, most of us are like this. We're intense and we're in your face, and we don't get offended easily, right?
Yeah, well,
So
I mean, like, I'm super sensitive, and I just realized it's because of my upbringing that I definitely had a parent that like put me down a lot my whole life and never made me feel like I'm validated. So I think that's the reason why sometimes people are like, "You're not like a New Yorker, but like you're too nice," and I'm just so I think it's more my upbringing of getting like attacked by a parent all the time that I like have that super sensitiveness, but I am intense,
mm,
like the intensity, the fast pacedness, the really like hard work is like still there for sure.
So how do you deal with that negativity that, and because people say like when you grow up, what happens to you as a child affects you as an adult. Has that stuff healed? Is it still there? Are you getting
Yeah.
therapy for it, or
Well, I mean,
how
this
do you
is
deal with that?
something that I just realized like the past few days, actually, just dealing with stuff. Because I was actually out of the country for a few years and I just got back like a few months ago. And yeah, I think I just came to terms like within the past few days that like my passiveness and my like attraction to like toxic people comes from like my upbringing. And I'm like now, like even before I was on with you, I was like watching YouTube videos about like dealing with and coming to terms with how to heal yourself and like build that like inner monologue of like you're okay, like you're not you're not a failure, you're not a nobody, you're not useless, and to build that esteem back up.
Yeah.
So it's a learning progress. I don't know. I think people should definitely. I don't know. I mean,
You're
not.
not a. You
Sorry.
said what?
No, it's like not everyone needs to like build up their esteem. Some people have a little too much self-esteem, so let's not go there. But for those that have low self-esteem, it is really important to like figure that out for themselves.
So so how does that work with dating? Are you married, single, or
Married, yeah.
you're married? Okay, so your husband, I'm sure, reassures you. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, luckily I found a really good guy, a nice guy. But from what I've been researching, a lot of times you attract like the same kind of toxicity in your life. But I think that
yeah.
happened with me with other relationships, business partners,
Mm,
people, that I let walk all over me, and then it just around me. But luckily, my husband, I picked a good guy, so
okay.
that's good. Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So are you're not a 9 to 5 girl, are you?
No, no.
You're
So
an
I don't.
entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about me, Hotep. We've been friends on Twitter for a while. I think I'm not sure
Yeah.
when this happened. I don't even know all of your politics or what it is that you believe in, but I just know that you're not like running around calling me a racist for not agreeing with Black Lives Matter. So like that's all I know is that like you're like cool sometimes, but then sometimes you do the same shit that I do, which is like criticize conservatives or like grifters or like Ecelebs. We're both just kind of like fuck that bitch, like that's stupid, So
Okay. Yeah.
that's what I really appreciate. But yeah, I don't know what you know about me. I was a burlesque dancer. I mean, I studied math at NYU. I was like tutoring math. I did a lot of math. I know a lot of calculus and shit. I was going to be a math teacher,
Mhm.
but I had that passion for performing. And I figured I'm only going to be young once, and I live in New York City, so I did the whole performing thing, and I built a career on it. I call myself Lady Alchemy, and for 10 years I was a burlesque performer in the city, and that's where all my troubles began in 2016. So
Wait. So when did you start the burlesque dancing?
I did burlesque like 20 2009.
2009, and then you stopped in 2016, or
I mean, kind of. That's where my troubles began, and I got blacklisted. So I built up my career to be like full time, and people would
okay.
say, "Oh, well, do you have a side job? You waitress or whatever?" I was like, "No." I had an agent. I was working every day at this like top theater. It was kind of like if you think about Studio 54, but today, that's what it
Okay.
was. It was this like underground place that's like only the who's who knew about it. Celebrities go there. Everyone's dying to get in. Everyone's saying, "Can you get me in? Can you get me in?"
Okay.
Really wild performances like that will just either shock you or be like, "Wow, I've never seen anything like that." Then it's like nightclub in between the performances, and people are like doing drugs or whatever. Celebrity in the corner, like something going on. Fashion week event or something. It was like really really wild. So yeah, I did that full time, and by 2016 I've always been a Republican. I don't know if that's like good or bad. It's just the way that I've always voted. And when Trump came along, it was like a very controversial Republican.
Yeah.
So for that to kind of get out in the performing arts community in New York City, you could imagine it rubbed people the wrong way. And that's when the canceling happened.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's do some backing up really fast, just to
Yeah.
contextualize this conversation. Burlesque dancing, isn't that like the Pussycat Dolls?
Uh,
No, I might be, or is one of the Pussycat Dolls doing burlesque dancing?
maybe something like that that's happening. Yeah.
So how would you define burlesque dancing? It's like
Okay,
this.
that's a good question. I mean, so originally it's like think vaudeville. So it was around all of that like vaudeville freaks, like circusy kind of stuff, like underground. It was the whole the minstrel shows. Like that's what it was. And burlesque actually comes from like it's comedy. It has like a comedy. I think root word to it or background to it. So they did a lot of performances that were kind of very not politically correct. I'm talking vaudeville days, okay?
Okay.
It's not politically correct. It was sticking it to the man, sticking it to the system, just like these underground shows that were super edgy. They'd come with strip teases. That's why it's like the pasties and like the tassel twirling stuff. But a lot of it had like irony or satire like to it. But then there was Sally Rand, who I personally love. She did at the World's Fair. She did this beautiful feather fan dance, and she had this like bodysuit that looked like she was nude, and it was just very beautiful and magical. And that's the kind of burlesque I'm attracted to, is beauty.
Yeah.
I love beauty and costumes and feathers and makeup and stuff like that, sparkles.
So you're a girly girl.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's aspects that like doing the burlesque is my
So how did you? How were you a little girl and knew about burlesque, or is this something that came like in college that you found out about? Like, how do you even know about this dance?
yeah. I mean, when I was a little girl, I remember going to like relatives' house or something, and like my cousins would have like a trunk full of costumes from all their like dance classes, and I used to like dig through and be like so jealous, like she's so lucky she gets to like have these costumes and take dance class, and we can never afford it. But I always danced around making my own dance routines and stuff, so it was like a childhood dream to be able to like make costumes for a living, make routines and dance for a living. But as far as burlesque in general, I mean, I started doing modeling with the New York Pinup Club, so I do like pinup modeling because that's like that's my vibe. And they obviously go hand in hand with burlesque because they still do a lot of that vintagey looking kind of stuff.
Right.
A lot of burlesque has that like 40s kind of 50s vibe and yeah, that aesthetic. So it went hand in hand. They said, "Hey, we're doing some burlesque shows. Do you want to do that?" And I did theater. I was a performer and I did like acting theater and like musicals and stuff while I was a math major. And I was like more attracted to performing and dancing than I was modeling. Modeling's kind of boring. So
It is.
so I was like, yeah, sure, like let's do it. And once you start, then you suck and you do another show, you get 2 hours to do another show, there's another venue.
So were you picked up, or did your agency get you into the burlesque thing, or were you scouted?
No, I was on my own. Yeah, just like jumped into the scene in
So
New
you
York.
tried out.
Yeah, that's
for
the
an
thing
audition.
about New York is that there's a scene for everything.
It is,
If you're like into law, I mean, there's the top law schools, law like firms in New York City. If you're into medicine, I mean, we've got the top like hospitals and medical schools in the world. We have everything. So there was the like, I mean, we have modeling, we have Broadway, like there's live performance is really big with New York. That's also something I would say that's different than other places is New York is like live performances. Like that's what we do.
Right.
There's something really awesome about live performance. Seeing someone in person in front of you performing has this sense of like awe of, and it's different than seeing someone on screen, seeing them on TV or in a movie. It has a different energy. So yeah.
So okay, so sidebar question: are you Russian?
I'm Croatian. If you know
Croatian.
What that is. Yeah.
No, I don't know what that is. I know it's Eastern European, right?
Yeah. So like, like former Yugoslavia? It's like
Right.
Serbia, Albanian, Croatian, Yugoslavia.
Do you speak the language?
I was bilingual when I was a kid, but I grew out of it. I became Americanized. I'm the first generation American.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think Tony Kukoc comes from.
That's right, Tony Kukoc. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know about Croatia.
Yeah.
Dope, dope. Okay, cool. So you're Croatian. Beautiful. Because I thought we were gonna have to do some Russian conspiracy theories since you're tied into Trump and all
Yeah, I
that.
know that's funny. I actually did go to Russia. My little sister is a huge Russian literature fan, and she had leukemia and then got cured. And so it was like her make a wish. We went to Russia, and I was afraid to post pictures because I was like, I'm going to get so many Russian collusion like comments. Like, I'm not even go there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're different from me. I would have been trolling. I would have been taking pictures and saying, "I just met with Putin." So it does speak to what you were saying about your personality earlier. You're not exactly like that harsh, like I can be sometimes, East Coast person, which is wonderful. Um, okay, let's talk the juicy stuff now, right? So, you said you were Republican, right?
Yeah.
How did you come to that designation? Is it because your parents were Republican and you chose to be, or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, it is like how you were raised. I was raised by a single mother who is from Croatia. She's an immigrant. And if you know anything about Croatian history, we're very nationalistic. We have had our land. I mean, there was a war in the 90s. So, we constantly have been trying to have people and nations or whatever take our land, occupy it, and stuff. So we have grown to be really like strong, like nationalists because it's like proud Croatian like thing because everyone wants to rip us apart. And then we are very Catholic. There was also a lot of the war had like conflict with Muslims as well because there was
Mm.
a lot of like the Ottoman invasion throughout times, and there's a lot of like Bosnians became converts to like Islam, and so there's a lot of tension there. There was communism. That's what the fall of Yugoslavia was about in the 90s. My mother lived under communism and spoke against that, was very against it. So all of these things are pretty conservative, I guess you could say, or like right wing, and that is kind of how I was raised. And so
Mm.
those are like the deep kind of roots of me.
Right.
I don't. All my siblings are not necessarily politically aligned with me, but maybe it's because they're younger, like younger millennials, like that went to college, or like
You're the oldest.
I'm second oldest. Yeah, so I was born in the '80s, and so my siblings born in the '90s are kind of like, no, they're liberals. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm an '80s baby too.
I
Let me read some super chats really fast. Victor of Life, $8 super chat. Thank you. He said going to have to catch a replay, but had to show love. Happy Friday, everyone. Stay blessed. Yatu Savas. Also, Martina, are you 30? Are you a 33? He's talking about your life path number. I don't know if you're in a numerology. Um, Kel Bell, Martina, is that why I became a fake Louisiana beauty queen? Was I trying to get approval? What was up with that?
Louisiana. What?
Yeah, she said, well, I think she's trying to relate to you a bit, basically saying, she was a beauty queen, or
Oh,
wanted to be a beauty queen.
I thought you were saying like I was trying to be a fake Louisiana beauty queen. I was like,
No, no,
what did I do?
nah.
Yeah.
My crowd is really super cool. Um, which is kind of cool because my corner of Twitter is like really like free thinking, free space, right? Where you're safe here. When you're with me, it's like you can say the wildest thing, and you're not going to be judged. Because I think that in order to have good dialogue, we have to remove judgment from the conversation, right? Okay, so your mom hates communism. Are there any like stories she's told about dealing with communism, or things she said about communism that she's hated, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to think about it. I just do remember her talking about, like, you weren't allowed to, like, what is it, practice Christmas, celebrate Christmas or something. There's just a lot of,
Really?
yeah, something about maybe it was in schools when she was like in grade school or something. Like they weren't allowed to kind of celebrate that or something. She just,
Hmm.
I'd have to think about it.
Right.
But
Yeah. No. Take your time thinking about.
I'm not talking to her, so
All right. So we're not gonna talk about mom.
I'm mad at mom. So,
We're
but
mad at you,
yeah, she
mom.
has told me stories like here and there,
Right.
and just how like life wasn't that great under communism when she was young out there. So,
Yeah. When I started studying communism, very early in my studies, about 2 years ago, I was like, I feel like they're describing America. I'm like, and I started asking myself, are we sure we're not communists? I'm like, I think we're communists. So I took the chance and tweeted it one day. I'm like, America's a communist nation. And I got a whole bunch of backlash. But
Yeah.
along with that backlash came a lot of people adding to the education, like, dude, you're not far off.
Right.
So then it took me further down the rabbit hole, so on and so forth. But that's another conversation for another day. I wanted to ask you about 2016. 2016 changed all of our lives, right? It's like a wormhole opened up and Earth got sucked into another dimension, and things haven't been the same.
Yeah.
Let alone 2020. I mean,
I
2020
know.
is just,
I know.
So 2016, what happens? You come out as a Trump supporter, or
Yeah, and okay, so it's not like I like came out and I made this big grand gesture and then everyone attacked me. Like, I'm really sensitive and I'm really non-confrontational. I don't want to fight with anyone. I'm really insecure about fights. So I obviously knew everyone was really touchy about Trump and Republicans in general. So I've always been pretty quiet about it. Now you have to remember, my stage name is Lady Alchemy. That's what I was known as. People did not know my real name. They would go around call me Alchemy, Lady A, whatever, and Lady. And I remember someone that worked in the office at the theater that I worked at, when they gave me my check and it had my real name on it. I said, "Wow, your name's Martina Markota. Like, that's really pretty. Like, that's really nice." So it was like a shock to them, like my real name. People didn't know really. I don't know other performers' real names.
right?
So when I had like my 5,000 Facebook, something changed about Facebook too since 2016 too. It's like full on boom. I don't even go on it. It's so weird now. But anyway, so at the time, yeah, Facebook was like the main social media thing. I had 5,000 friends. It was like all of my cohorts, all of my like LGBT friends. It was like all of my performer friends, my producer, my director, my agent, everyone on my Facebook. And all you see in the timeline is constant like SJW shit, right?
Right. Okay.
And I bite my tongue and I bite my tongue and I'm just kind of like, okay. And the thing is, even before 2016, like the burlesque scene is just so SJW. I remember years ago, like maybe 2013 or something, I would go up to like Rochester to do for New Year's Eve, and it was like cold and snowy. It's fucking up there. And I had all of my luggage and my costumes in it, and I was trying to get it into a van. And I just stopped and I went, "Is there a man that can help me?" Because two reasons: men have more upper body strength, and two, when you make men feel like useful, like it makes them feel manly. It's like a good reciprocal thing. Like,
Yeah,
it's like you
absolutely.
get to feel good and manly, whatever. And one of the other performers was like, "We don't need men." And I just remember being like, "We don't need men? Like, what the fuck are you talking
Can I
about?"
ask? Can I ask what her race was?
White. Yeah.
Okay. So a white woman said this.
Yeah.
We don't need men.
We don't
Okay.
need men.
Wow.
And so there were comments like that a lot, and there was just like little weird like headbutts that I would have where it was like, I wasn't doing it on purpose. I just was being a me and being like normal, like a normal person. And they would have this like, "Well, actually, like SJW talking point, like blah blah," and I'm just like, what the fuck world am I like living in? I was just like, I don't know what I say that is gonna like rub them the wrong way. So I just started to be really quiet, and I didn't know, I had no idea what would tick them off. I don't know how to live in this world anymore. So 2016 comes around, and it was the same thing on like Facebook. It was just all this SJW shit. And there's just something that's not healthy about like holding it in. I didn't want to fight with anyone. I'm not going to get into like the comments and we go, it's like so stupid, right? Plus, I knew all these people. So what I decided to do was I said, "Hey, I'm 30 years old. I don't have anything. If you Google my real name, Martina Markota, like no one knows what that is. Like I have nothing under it. You Google Lady Alchemy, boom, it's me. It's all my shit."
Yeah, I saw that.
So I figured, I was like, I'll use my real name and I can like politically express myself that way, like it feels
Yeah.
good. It's like therapeutic to just say what you feel, post a meme. It's just like, it feels good. So I
Yeah.
created a whole different Instagram account so I could like post memes and like post some Trump shit. And I am a boomer and didn't realize that Facebook and Instagram were like the same entity, like it was like bought. So
Yeah.
they had this thing where it was like, hey, your Facebook friend, Lady Alchemy, created a new Instagram account. Go follow. And I started getting like a flood of follows from my like Facebook. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what's happening? Like, no, like, how are you finding this? And I was like, how'd you find this? They're like, oh, Facebook notified me. And I was like, fuck, you know? And as soon as that happened, they see, but like, there was comments from people. They're like, what the fuck is this? Like on my like Trump memes or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. And then next thing you know, it gets around. And then I wrote on like, I created a website and I like wrote a blog. Sorry, it's New York.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
It's nice out. Everyone's out on their motorcycle.
We can't even hear it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I wrote like, that's what I was trying to do. And then I got on Gavin's show because I was like just in my room, dealing with the real work, performing, being around all the SJW talk behind the scenes, seeing it all on Facebook, like in backstage and everything, and just being like, oh my God, oh my God. And so I would go on my off time and just like go on YouTube. I would watch Gavin. I'd be like, yeah, nice. Fuck yeah. And I would just like, watch all these different things and educate myself that way. Roger Scruton, I was a big fan because he loves like art and beauty and like aesthetics and stuff like that. And I was just like, immersing myself with that like in my own space. So I then created a website for Martina Markota and like wrote a blog about how I wrote about art in the nude, how this relationship of me being a burlesque dancer and being conservative, and the leftists, the far leftists, the feminists, they really focus on nudity as a like hyper vaginal like nudity. It's like they'll put like vaginas on shit. It's like so vaginally obsessed.
Yeah.
And I think being like a conservative that's into nudity, whatever. I use my body as a canvas. I perceived it as like Greek Roman sculptures, like the Sistine Chapel, just like stuff like that, where it was like tied to godliness. It wasn't like sexualized. It wasn't about like sex or gender or anything like that. So I wrote about that, and I wrote about how conservative new counterculture. Paul Joseph Watson stole that from me because I gave him that info, and he ended up destroying it. Anyway, that's a whole different story.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah,
What?
like I fucking hate Paul Joseph Watson because I used to talk to him back in like 2013 and stuff. Again, when I was like consuming all this material and I was just like frustrated with all the feminists and the SJWs, like in New York, in the art scene, I felt alone. So I was just online. And I came across Paul Joseph Watson before he was like with InfoWars or anything. He was just like walking around with his like camera bitching about feminism. And I was like, never been a feminist because I was like, yeah, fuck feminists. So I was like, yeah, cool. And I like reached out to him. He only had like 50,000 followers on Twitter. And we used to like chat. And then he was like, oh, I should interview you sometime. And then I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then when I bugged him about an interview, he's like, oh, I can't just interview you because you're hot. I need a topic. I was like, yeah, I know, duh. I want to talk about like what I know, which is art. I want to talk about how conservative is new counterculture. That's how I felt. I felt being conservative was like the new, like just different thing. It was like underground. It was like kind of this thing, having faith instead of mocking Christianity. It was like cool. It was different, and so I read things, and I sent him references to Roger Scruton to talk about beauty and like art and all this stuff, and how modern art sucks, or contemporary art rather, because modern art is actually a specific time period of art. And I gave him like all these things that I want to talk about, and he ran off and just stole it. Never got my credit. So,
no way.
Him. Yeah, I have screenshots. I have things to prove it. So
oh, that's so foul. I never really jived with him. my superpower is reading people, and I never really was like, this guy just seems weird to me. So
Yeah,
now
he
I see
definitely
why.
is known. Like he's known now about it too. Is that like he'll steal memes, he'll steal like other things. He'll steal content all the time. He's known for stealing. It's just that's something that I didn't realize after getting blacklisted and all this stuff, and we'll still get to it. But something that I'm disappointed about, and I want to get to that too, is like not just bitching about SJWs, but like what can we do now? Like what the issues on the right are. That's why I like you as well because you call it out. We're not just like in this cult, like rooting for one side of the team. I'm kind of like, no, motherfucker, you sketchy too. Okay, like yeah, you guys are bad too. So shut up. So yeah,
Yeah.
fuck Paul
So
Joseph Watson. He. I didn't realize people want to like climb to the top to be this like celeb on the right. To me,
yes.
conservatism, Republicans back in the day, even if you call it neocon if you want, I don't give a shit. Even the neocons were like maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I was too naive. But what I perceived was like educated, cultured, willing to help each other, honorable, magnanimous, like these like good qualities. And that's
Yeah.
what I thought the right was about. And I'm highly disappointed that
Well,
everyone.
let's unpack that.
Yeah,
How different is the right or conservatism from 2016 to now?
I
To
know.
me, it's completely different.
I know. It's
Right?
totally different.
Like 2016, it was like, yeah, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Today, I'm like, yo, when
It's
this shit
cringe.
become whack.
Yeah, like it's cringe as fuck. Like, God, really?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with like the whole Celeb Griff thing, right? It became like I shot the popularity, right? And it wasn't like I knew that was going to happen. I was just like you said, I was just like, oh, we can talk about this stuff now. Let's talk about it,
Yeah.
right? And people loved my opinion, and then it was just like it became a battle, like you said, like let me come on your channel and talk about this, and it's like, yeah, sure, and then you don't hear back from them. I was dealing like with a lot of that stuff, and I'm just like, yo, like it felt like the music industry all over again, a lot of shadiness and fake stuff, and these people climb the ladder and then play gatekeeper.
Exactly, exactly. What I started noticing too was a lot of like I call it like circle jerking. They were just like,
Yeah,
like jerking each other off, whatever other e-celeb like was, to it just perpetuate their like e-celeb fame. And I was disappointed because I thought, I mean, I was already established as Lady Alchemy. I had my fault. Like I had a whole career as Lady Alchemy, and I mean, I had fame. I was performing every night on a stage for people cheering my name. They were adoring me. I had, like I said, celebrities watching me. I worked for Google Holiday Party. I worked for Xerox. Like I did, like I've done all these things. I had fame. I'm on billboards. I was in magazines. Like I had fame. Okay. Like it wasn't like a nobody, but as far as politics go, when I lost all that fame, that like my career and like Lady Alchemy got destroyed, I'm a
we're gonna
nobody
talk.
as
We're
far.
gonna we're gonna unpack that too.
Yeah. And I
We're
was
gonna
like
unpack that.
nobody as Martina. And I expected like a hand to be like, dude, you got screwed by these SJWs. Like, come up here.
Yeah,
Like, let me help you out. And
yeah.
instead, it was like ignored, taking my material for themselves and then getting big off of it. Just everyone out for themselves. And yeah, it's shocking. That's totally what I see with the 2020 conservatism now. It's disappointing.
Yeah, it became like you said, this popularity contest, right? And then less about the actual politics or policies or the ideology. I definitely saw that myself, and that's why I started calling out. Do you feel like you had to be in lockstep with some of the celebs, and you kind of had to do some ass kissing in order to be inducted into their clique of cool
Well,
people?
I'm not in their clique. Okay, you will not see. I know that I have a
I
blue.
noticed that. I
Yeah,
noticed that.
I'm
I'm like,
ignored.
yo, I'm like, we've been following each other, like you said, for a little while now, right? And I see hot white chick, I think definitely glued in with the right. And this is somebody who probably gets it. But then I'm like, how come I never see her overlap with any of the cool people? And now I'm starting to see like, so you're not in the in crowd.
No, I've never been in the in crowd, no matter what. Since high school. It's just I don't get it. I don't know, but I'm not in with the in crowd. You'll notice, even though I have a blue check, I have a blue check only for one reason. It's because I worked in media. I briefly, for like 6 months, worked at the Daily Caller, and they give blue check marks to media like candy. Okay, that's the
Right.
only reason why I got it. But other than that, you will not see other blue checks engage with me, retweet me, support me, care if something happened to me. They
Yeah.
just don't. So I'm not in with that. Maybe it's because I didn't do enough ass kissing. Maybe it's because I call out others on the right. I've been anti Paul for this whole time, and that didn't help for a while. Now I have people on the right to get it, and they're like, yeah, he's a total grifter. Like, fuck him. And then I've been calling out Candace for a while. That always rubs everyone the wrong way.
Yeah. How dare you come for the
Yeah,
queen of conservatism?
yeah, who never even voted for Trump, but okay. Um,
I mean, you got to take it a step further and say that she was an anti-Trumper.
Oh, absolutely. Didn't she write an article about how
Yes.
to do an investigation into the size of Trump's penis or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was completely on the other side. Like it wasn't even like she had like an epiphany. It was like she
Yeah.
completely flip flop.
Oh
Yeah,
no, her
exactly.
epiphany came and it was, ooh, I can get more fame and money doing if I'm a black conservative. So
Yeah,
anyway, but yeah, so maybe it's that. I don't know what it is that rubs people the wrong way. I think people do see more of like the strong will inside of me on Twitter because they do think I'm feisty, but I'm really not. Like I don't think I'm feisty. I'm actually really passive and sensitive and emotional. But I don't just like suck up to people that I don't respect, and I will call things out the way that I see it for the most part. So I don't know. I'm not in with the in crowd.
yeah. To be an e-celeb, I don't know. We can theorize what it takes to be an e-celeb on the left, but on the right, it seems to be very simple, right? Um, don't criticize anybody on the right. Say all good things about Trump and take
Mm,
shots at the left, right? It's like
mm.
literally if you just follow those three rules and post content, some videos every now and then, something funny or whatever, and some memes, you can like climb up the ladder. Do some ass kissing, you'll climb up the ladder even faster. But I think the problem is genuine people are different from others. Right. And I think there's probably three categories of people. You have someone who's truly genuine no matter what the situation is. Those are people like you and I. We're not going to fake it. Even if we tried to fake it, we wouldn't be able to live with ourselves. Right.
Yeah.
Then you have the people who fake it. And then you have the people in the middle who don't know what to do, are fearful. So they follow the fake people and become fake like them.
Absolutely. And I think that's also the thing is that I think it's been also kind of trendy to attack me for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, in like the certain like far right troll circles. Like I'm not talking about the regular like MAGA crowd. They don't
Okay.
they just follow the same MAGA grifter or whatever is happening. But as far as like the trolls go, it becomes fun to like attack me for some reason. It's this game for people. And that is exactly what you're describing is that I think people genuinely know I'm nice and that I have good cool content, but it's like high school where if the popular kid is saying she's not cool, let's make fun of her, everyone else is kind of like, okay, yeah, she's so cringe, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, fine, just follow whatever your Eceleb says to do and, follow that. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. It's like high school all over again. It's definitely high school all over again because in high school I was a rebel. I recognized the fake shit really fast, and I was like, I'm just not gonna hang out with fake people. Like, if you got to be fake to be cool, it's just not gonna work. So I just stuck to picking up girls, and that worked for me. I'm like, you guys don't gotta like me as long as the women love me. I'm happy, right? So, we fought in my garage every night and hung out with the dudes, and it was cool, right? I didn't need to be. Kel Bell, she said, "Nah, respect. I was a fake Louisiana beauty queen. I don't understand why I went down that road." Kel Bell said, "I'm trying to pick your brain, Martina. It's all
Nice.
love." Kel Bell, time always tells. I've been riding with HOTEPS for years. Respect. Appreciate you.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, all right. So let's unpack some of this troll stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, first of all, trolls are unhappy people, right? That's what this comes down to. They're not happy with their life, because if they were happy with life, they'd be doing that. They'd be busy doing that as
Right.
opposed to worrying about what you're doing, right?
Right.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you said you're nice, and I think the rest of it has to do with the fact that you're an attractive burlesque dancer, right? So there's this weird thing with that certain section of
Yeah.
conservatism
Yeah.
where if you show too much skin, all of a sudden you're not a conservative, right? Like there's no room for the art. Um, there's no room even for uh like the e-girl or e-gamer, right?
Mhm.
Like they treat women kind of like the Bitcoin tech community treats women, right? And it's very much like the Victorian age of the United States, where men oppressed women, right? And it said you couldn't do this and you can't do that, and they were policing bodies and all that stuff, right? And I have my own views on how women should dress, so on and so forth. But the last thing I'm going to do is go online and tell another woman how she should behave. I'm gonna do that with my children and
Right.
how my people,
Right.
right? But I'm not gonna be, up here. So I think that what's happening is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong anywhere here, but when you're known for showing a little bit of skin, you have these fringe. I want to even say alt writers too, because they're very protective over white women,
Right.
especially like what they call the Nordic European woman, right? Their queen, right? You on the joint?
I was rolling a little spliffy before, but I feel like the weed that I have is making me more anxious. So I'm just doing a straight tobacco one. Let's see how that makes me feel.
All right, no doubt. Roll up, roll up, roll up, roll up. Um. So yeah. So
Yeah, showing skin.
it's really weird. Um. That they do this. What is that experience like with them? Like how
Yeah,
did?
so you know what I'm talking about then. This like
Yeah. And
certain subset of Twitter or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of girls that show skin. They're doing the whole MAGA babe, and you get all the like normal like boomer dude. Like they fly up with fans, right?
right.
They'll like go right up there. The cringier the better. And I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about that subset that you were talking about that for some reason is fixated on me. And now my issue too is that like I think it's a click thing because
It
I
is.
don't see why it would be picking on Lady Alchemy over like actual porn, like MAGA porn stars or MAGA cringe that just goes like bikini shot MAGA, because it's like my art is like it's strange and beautiful, and I think there's a certain vibe to it that I mean,
It's not IG. It's not IG model stuff.
yeah, like it's not just like here's my like booty next to like a car or something, like
Yeah, yeah,
it's very just strange and beautiful. It's clearly artsy, and these people are purposefully trying to remove the artsiness and then just say like poor stripper.
yeah.
So it's like, are you really trying to like? You could focus on a real horror stripper out there on the internet if you wanted to. So I don't know why your obsession with me is there, but that's kind of my issue too with the lack of culture. So these people are like virtue spiraling, and it's to the detriment of the right, I think, because if you look at any great civilization or whatever, there's great art. The art is appreciated. When we idolize these like Greek and Roman sculptures or whatever, they're nude. Like the Sistine Chapel in churches, you have paintings of the Renaissance of Jesus with this dingling hanging out, the robe falling right off, Mary like suckling with her teat out, all this stuff. So it's like, are you really going to act like nudity is like, oh, it's not conservative? Like, okay, like you have to know how to discern what is a thought and what is like artsy,
Yeah.
So it's a lack of culture, or you're purposefully ignoring it just because you want to be like part of this little fun clique to like hate on someone on the internet. So yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
if I answered your question.
yeah, yeah. No, it's little boy energy, and I've seen
My
it.
uncle energy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. A bunch of immature kids who have this. They talk about their white ethno state,
Hmm.
and they have their idea of this white utopia, right? And it's beautiful to dream, just a lot of the stuff isn't rooted in reality.
Absolutely.
And I think that they want to. Here's the key to all of this. They actually have a crush on you, right? They actually are jealous they can't have you, right? So because they can't have you, or because they want to possess you, they act out that desire for possession. And the desire for possession is acting out and saying, trying to control you and control your body, right? And
Yeah.
criticizing for how you are. So it's coming from a place of admiration and a place of weakness. But I've seen that. All right, let's talk Trump. Let's talk 2016 a little bit more. Then we're gonna talk getting canceled, and then we're gonna talk about race and where we are in 2020. If it doesn't get you more canceled, because all right, so 2016, right?
Yeah.
You're sure you're gonna vote for Trump, and why? Do you
Uh,
remember?
yeah, no, I mean, I do remember. I think at first I liked Ted Cruz. I did like Shapiro and all that, and I was like, yeah, Ted Cruz, a constitutionalist, like that whole thing. My mom was like Trump. Like she'd come to New York City and we're walking around like the High Line, the walkway. And she's just like, Trump, and I'm just like, shit, like she's don't do that. But then I started to, yeah, it was like summer 2016. I was like, oh. And I don't know, the vibe, I think you felt it too. The vibe started happening where it was like, nah, he's like, it's funny. Like, like it's kind of funny. It's kind of badass. He just kind of says whatever, like, go for it. And then I think also I went to like a Breitbart meeting in New York City, a meetup, and I saw Sunny Johnson speak.
Okay.
Love her. And I met Matthew Boyle, who's like, I don't know, he's running Breitbart or something. I don't know what his like exact title is. And I was like, oh, so who do you think? And he's just like, that's fine. He's like, Trump. I was like, really? And so I realized everyone's just like, yeah, Trump. And it made me think. And I was kind of like, okay, like, because they taught you to like be embarrassed by the Trump thing,
Yeah.
like it was just like, oh, that's so crazy and silly, that you should not even as a Republican, like, oh, come on, really.
Yeah.
But the more I started to see, like my mom, like people, society does have an effect on you, and it kind of opened my eyes to not just like put it off and kind of like look at it. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of fun. Like this is
Yeah.
getting real fun, and the memes were getting fun. It just was like a vibe. So I was like, fuck yeah, Trump. And as a New Yorker, I thought he was gonna lose. Everyone would tell me he's gonna lose. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to just vote for a winner. I'm trying to vote for who I want to vote for. Like, I don't care. I'm
Right.
ready to go back to work in the theater, go backstage with my tail between my legs, go, he lost, but shit was fun.
Right.
But that didn't happen. He won. So I was kind of like, giggling nonstop. But then at the same time, I had fear because before the election, okay, this is what happened. I'm gonna put this out. So before the election, it's 2016, people found out, started to get around. They saw my alternate profile. They started looking at my blogs. And I was backstage. Let me start again. There was a black girl who is a beautiful, she's like Naomi Campbell, who worked at the theater front of house. She was like, front of house, not
What's
a
this?
performer. And I was friends with her on Facebook. And she made this post about not seeing people, like, she can still be friends with people without having to see them all the time, like having that like dependency on seeing them all the time. And I was kind of like, yeah, I feel that because, I see you every day at work and I consider you my friend, and I want her to know, like, you're my friend. So, like, I don't hang out with you outside of work and stuff, but I feel like you're my friend. And then there's another girl who is a singer, a performer there, who's like total Black Lives Matter, like the shaved head, like really like angry black woman. I don't know if that's racist to say, sorry. She's that angry Black Lives Matter black woman, and she commented, "Excuse me, miss, aren't you a Trump supporter? Meaning you are racist, homophobic, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, my basic bitch conservatism days. I was like, um, no, like I judge people by the content of their character, and so has been nothing but polite to, like, nice to me, and I like her. She's my friend. And she's like, excuse me, we've seen your tweets. We all have. Like, please explain to me how you can consider her your friend, blah, blah, blah. And so I start to explain. I was like, well, like, aren't you against Black Lives Matter and all that stuff? And I was like, yeah, I'm against terrorist groups. And, maybe you should rethink the Democratic Party, all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I'm not listening to anything from a racist. Bye, Okay, I thought you wanted an explanation, but so that scared me because I'm so sensitive and emotional. I was really freaked out. This is a girl that I work with. She's the singer. She's the host at this club. So I was really nervous about going to work, and I was backstage, and I was really like stressed and nervous. And there's like another guy. He's like some gay guy that works on like in crew. He's like part of is what they call it with crew, backstage people with the headsets and stuff. And he was like, just talking to me. I was like, yeah, I'm really nervous. Like, Kim, I said the name. I was like, so and so, made this post on Facebook, and she tagged me, and they're like, yeah, I saw that. And they're just like, it's fucked up, blah, blah, blah. And another burlesque dancer heard me talking to this guy and was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, oh, just like Kim kind of like went after me on Facebook, and fuck, I said her name. And she's like, yeah, I heard all about it, and I read your blog, and I have to say I'm not impressed. And she started like fighting with me and yelling at me. Trump's a racist. Like, we all know like this whole thing. This is like 2016, right?
Yeah.
We're going into that type. I'm like, well, how's he racist? It's like the Mexicans. Like, well, I mean, and we're like, this land belongs to everyone. It's stolen land. Like the whole shit. And I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. Trying to be like, well, we can agree to disagree. Like trying to like passively like stop the argument. I'm like, ugh. And then I started to notice all of the like cold shoulders. Like people, every time someone comes into the dressing room, I'm like, hey, hello. And it was just like someone that I knew, an aerialist or something, would come in. I'm like, hello. And it was just, and I'm like, oh, I love that costume. That looks great. And it's just like,
wow.
Oh my God. Okay, a lot of like turning the head and ignoring me or picking a fight with me. So it just became very, very uncomfortable. So when Trump won, I already, even before this, there was meetings about me. And I got pulled into a meeting from by my director, the director of and he was like some gay guy, Hillary supporter. And he pulled me in and he said, I sat down with him. He's like, okay, so there's been some talk and we've had a meeting about you because people were complaining about your politics. And I'm just like, none of this has to do with Lady Alchemy. Like I'm trying to do this on my real name.
Yeah.
And and he was like, and to be fair, love the guy. He was like, and but to be honest, we love your work, we love what you do, and who are we to judge? Because we have performances where we have someone urinating on an American flag. They have definitely anti-Trump performances going on. They, that host that came after me, she would say shit on stage. She was just like, oh, look at you white bitches. You need some black dick in you. That's what you need, And then she would just say like really racist shit all the time. And I'm just kind of like, oh, God, but kept it to myself. Always calling Trump Hitler, like all these things. And so they were very political with their performances and in that theater, but I wasn't. I was doing it privately. And so he was saying, to be fair, the guy was, the director was like, we have performances that are really controversial, so who are we to judge? So like, whatever, it's fine. Just like, don't, like, there was like this talk about like, don't be attacking people kind of thing. Right. And so I felt like protected. I was like, ooh, okay, good. And then when the election happened, I was really freaked out because I was like, how do I go back into work now? Everyone's going to be mad at me. Like, they're going to look at me and be like, you did this. Like, you're like demonic kind of thing. Yeah. So I was scared. And I talked to the producer, like the day after the election, I got a call from the producer, and I like expressed my concern about coming back to work. And he was just like, well, yeah, this is like really sad for a lot of people and blah, blah, blah. And, you have like, maybe you should just like not come back for, like, we won't have you like regularly, because I was there every night. Like, we won't have you regularly every night right now. Like, well, we're trying to work on some like budget thing anyway, but we'll let you know when we want your beautiful performances, like, to book that. I worked every day for 2 years there, every day. Suddenly, the day after the election, I'm not working there anymore, and I was never called back. And there are specific people, performers, that really, really made sure to cancel me.
Uh,
That was their objective.
and and that's my beef with the left, right? Like they complain about Trump supporters, but I'm like, you guys are the dealer. You hold all the cards. You
I
literally
know.
control every facet of society. Where
And it didn't end there. So, okay, lost that gig with the theater that I worked at regularly. That was my like dream job when I first started burlesque, because I was like, that like it's like Studio 54. That was the coolest fucking place to work at. I was
yeah.
like, fuck yeah. So I lost my dream like theater job, and then my agent was like, everyone's saying you're a Nazi. What's going on? And I was just like, oh God, and then they like sent her a link that they were like, the other performers were like feeding her stuff about me. And they're like, so and so saying this, and they're saying that, they're basically saying that you're like the devil. And then she was like, well, what's this? And she sent me a link, that they were sending her a link to an article that Antifa wrote about me, basically doxing me. And they wrote about the election night party that I had, and saying, because there was like a lot of Proud Boys, like what have you, and Gavin was there. And so they were just like, this fight. I was like, that's Antifa. And I'm trying to explain to this lady what Antifa is. Like, they are far extreme leftists. They're like, that's not right, what they're saying. And she's just like, people are saying this, like, what does Western chauvinism mean? I had to explain to her like things. And she's Chinese American.
Mm.
So she was kind of like, this is crazy. This is like the Reds in China. She was just like flabbergasted, but like she liked me and didn't want to stop booking me. Then she heard like, oh, they said that you're calling them fat and ugly. I was like, yeah, because they are fat and ugly. If you know burlesque, well, they're fat and old and ugly. Okay. So when they started attacking me and canceling me, I was kind of like, oh, fucking fat bitches, right? And so she was like, oh, like, don't call them fat. I was like, they're calling me a Nazi. And she was like, well, you can control being a Nazi. Like, you choose to be a Nazi, but you don't choose to be fat. And it's like, first of all, I'm not a Nazi. Second of all, yes, you do control being fat.
Yeah,
Okay.
you definitely control
So
that.
I don't know what we're. So sometimes she would get SJW, because she is in that world and she is Americanized. She is an artsy like person, but her having that like Chinese background was like, this is kind of like the Reds, And I was like, yeah, it is the Reds in China. This is exactly what's happening. So
Mm.
then and then they started telling her, if you continue to book her, we're not working your gigs anymore. So she pretty much got ganged up on and said, you need to stop booking her, otherwise we're all like blacklisting you as an agent. And so she had no choice but to say like, I can't book you anymore. So I lost the agent. Then I just like kept trying to like pick myself back up and find other gigs, find other performances. I had this one lady that was a belly dancing instructor, old lady, and she was putting on a show called Make America Sexy Again at the Slipper Room. And I was like, I don't think you want to book me. She was like, oh, burlesque girls are so fat, so I want Lady Alchemy. And I was like, I don't think you want to book me. Like, I'm a pariah right now. She goes, what are they going to do? Like, not play your music? I want you. I was like, okay. So we rehearsed. We did this whole thing, blah, blah, blah. Day before the show, she calls me so upset going, I sent in the roster with your name on it, and they got back to me and said that you're a racist, anti-feminist, and that you insulted the burlesque community, and that you need to be replaced or the show's canceled. Like, she was so distraught. I was like, listen, go do the show. I'm out of it. Don't worry. Don't feel bad about it. She was so distraught, and she's like, so sad. And I had to explain. She's like, well, what does not feminist mean? I was like, well, you know how they like shit on men all the time and like blah, blah. I was like explaining to her. She goes, yeah, that's true. That's true. I was like, okay. And then, as far as insulting the burlesque community, I mean, a lot of them are fat and ugly. And she goes, yeah, they are. And then I was like, and the racist bit, I'm not a racist. And she goes, I know. like with a sigh, and it was just like really like unfortunate what's happening. So they would follow me around and do that. And then I had this one girl. I'm sorry I'm talking so much.
No, this is your interview. This is. I'm Oprah at this point.
Okay. And then I had this one girl that was in the performing community that knows me. It was like a super psycho. Like she was married to a guy that divorced her because he was gay. He turned like gay or something. She's such a feminist, turned him gay, and was like nonstop obsessed, like obsessive over that, and would write about her like relationship nonstop. Would always do these things jabbing at like Republicans and Republican women. She has this fixation with Republican women.
Who is this now?
This girl that is in my performing community.
Okay.
And particular girl, I don't know. She who shall not be named. Let's just say that right now. This fucking bitch is psycho. I don't even want to summon her name into my like energy.
And she has a problem with who?
What?
You said she has a problem with a certain archetype of, I guess, Trump women?
Yeah, of Republican women, even before Trump. It was like this. So she would do like acting and stuff, and she would make like little skits and do like these little like really hodgepodge home videos of like her acting where she's just like making fun of whatever Republican woman at the time is going on, like going back years. And so she has a fixation on Republican women. She's very strange. So when she found out I was a Republican, and then I'm hanging out with Gavin and whatever, she went fucking psycho. She started like watching every single episode of Gavin, she's an older woman than me. She took like a camcorder and started recording the screen with the camcorder. And Gavin would say inappropriate shit. He said some really inappropriate shit, okay? Like in my company. Like we were talking about the people that were attacking me, and he was like looking at the comments, and he was like, that person looks like a tranny. And I was like, Gavin, you're not allowed to say tranny. He goes, oh, sorry, gender N-word is what he said in my presence. Oh, you smiled. You smiled. You're not allowed to smile. Because what did I do? I'm on Gavin's show. You laughed. So I'm on Gavin's show.
Wait, he said you gender N-word?
Yeah.
Gender nigga?
Yeah. Oh, man. I gotta clip this. They gotta clip it. You're in trouble now. So, no, I'm in trouble because I'm smiling. I gotta smile. Oh, I'm not allowed to smile. So basically what happened was he said that in my presence on the show, and I just went, and I like awkwardly laughed, and we changed the subject. Like, what am I supposed to do? Man. I mean, he could do whatever the fuck he wants. He could say whatever he wants. I didn't say it. So what this girl did was like zoom in on me of him saying it. Like I became canceled because Gavin said something and I laughed. I awkwardly laughed at it. So she got that footage. She starts making videos about me, like hit pieces, puts them online, started collaborating with like alt-right people that went to Charlottesville to be against me. So it's like, is this really about politics? Because you just collaborated with someone that went to Charlottesville. Okay, so you obviously have a deep-rooted like hate at me for this point. And she put in false tips to the FBI, which she admitted to everything. Okay, she has a blog, and I have that shit saved. She is so proud of her fighting Nazis that she wrote an entire blog about it, how she contacted the FBI. She put in a false tip to the FBI saying that my husband, or fiance at the time, who is British, is a terrorist trying to come into the country, and that it's like green card marriage, which they take very seriously. They took more seriously than the terrorist accusation was the green card bit. So, yeah, and so he hasn't been able to come back to America since election night. My husband hasn't been to America since 2016, and he hasn't met my family, and we are trying to, sort that out and get a visa, get him to come here. But it's happening, but that's the damage that they've done to me in my life. And they continue to do it because I sent you the other day for 4th of July, another cancellation. I came back to New York after leaving the country. They won. Okay, they won. I left New York. I left performing. I got a job in DC working with the Daily Caller. Now I work in conservative media. Not my thing. Okay, not my thing. Fuck that shit. Both media, left and right, fucking bullshit. It's like milkshakes. All they want to do is like feed you like bullshit to get angry at the other side. It's like, so I hate media. But anyway, so I started working.
That's just the clicks.
They started contacting like Salon, all these like media outlets to do hit pieces on me. They tried to like send them my burlesque stuff, like they didn't fucking know I did burlesque. That's why they hired me. So trying to send them stuff like, it's this conservative, you want her working here. So they were actively trying to get me fired and get me canceled in my new career. They won. They got me. They got rid of me in burlesque. Why are you following me around now? What if I worked at Starbucks? Are they going to then go to that Starbucks and say, you have a Nazi working for you? Fire her, fire her. What if I'm panhandling on the street? Are you going to walk by and tell everyone not to give me money?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Yeah. Well, you look like a Nazi. I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh, let me read some super chats. You said so much. It's just like I'm just like, yo.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Don't apologize. It's really good. Aztec Mecca, thank you. He said, peace and love, Hotep Nation. Shout out to the beautiful lady A. Loving this uncomfortable conversation. It's like I'm relating to it, but I'm a black guy, right? You're a Nazi white woman, right? I'm.
Can I nod or?
I was blackballed from left wing media, right? New York popular radio host has tweeted on Twitter and said, I'm not allowed up there. I'm just not allowed at the main radio station in New York City.
What is it, Hot 97 or some shit?
Exactly.
Fuck them. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ebro has said I'm not allowed up at Hot 97. In fact, one day I had a podcast episode scheduled with one of my friends in that building who works for Hot 97. And when I tweeted I was on my way, I got a call 5 minutes later, literally, that said, yo, I have to reschedule the podcast. Podcast never got rescheduled.
Yeah.
So I know what you're going through, and
for sure.
It's a very weird time.
Yeah.
I never expected, even for myself, I never expected to be ostracized from any industry, period. Right. Yeah. So one thing I do relate with is the name thing, right? So you were going under Lady A and then you go to Martina Markota, right? So I was Hotep Jesus, right? And I wouldn't use my real name because I was in the professional world. And I'm right. I remember one day I was at a startup and I worked with a feminist, literally. And they said something about Twitter. I'm like, my heart just started racing. I'm like, I hope they didn't find my account. I hope they didn't find my account. And they literally asked me, do you have a Twitter account? I'm like, nah, I don't really get into Twitter. So I immediately created like this other profile of Brian Sharp, like my real name. And then so if they ask, I can just send them that one, right? So I was like running under this whole other thing so they wouldn't find out. And it's like, it's scary. It's a very scary place we are now because you are definitely being, I don't know if oppressed is the right word, but suppressed is definitely the right word. Ostracized. They're taking away your ability to create income for yourself and take care of yourself.
They want to actively erase me too from history. They started actively removing ad campaigns, things that I've been in. They started copyright striking things that we collaborated on. They wanted to erase me. And that feels so, to feel like you're being erased and all your work is like heartbreaking.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I feel the heartbreak because I can't relate to my people sometimes, especially Black women. Like I find it really hard to be around Black women unless they're of the Hotep variety. If they're the Hotep variety, I feel like right at home. Like I'm with my queens. Like they get it,
Yeah.
Whereas the majority of Blacks, as you already know, are definitely more on the liberal side of things, and
which is like surprising to me, genuinely, not for that conservative like talking point, but like I lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn, right before it got super hipster, and I lived like my neighbors were. They were like red. They were in gangs. They were part of the Reds, you know. And they got the teardrop tattoo. They're definitely like, oh, you want to see my gun? Definitely not a legal gun. You know, like they were gangsters.
Yeah.
And I lived in this really black community. And election day, I went to go vote in Kings County, you know, and went to the voting area. And I see when you sign in, you could see like your name on a list and there's like an R next to it. And I just quickly glanced at the paper and it was all D D D D D. And I was just like, why? Like, why though? Like, I don't get it. Like, I genuinely don't. Like, a lot. And also, the community was very religious. Like, I had a lot of churches, a lot of the really nice, decent, like, black folk that go to church. You know, like the old black man in his hat that says hi to you every day and he's sweeping his front little, like, sidewalk area. And it's like, why are you guys Democrat? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, I hear you. It's,
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's disheartening for me to see that my people are one way, but once a certain topic is brought up, they completely flip. And it's just like, that's not how you live, right? This is not
right,
how you live. Like you're completely contradicting yourself
right,
by even supporting these people, you know, and it's like, well, if it's fuck whitey, then it should be fuck all of the white people, right? It shouldn't be just Trump. It should be Trump and Biden, all right? All
right,
together. Like, don't be a hypocrite, you know? If there's white supremacy, you can't remove the Democrats from that system of white supremacy if you say
right.
there's a system of white supremacy, you know? So it's just a lot of very contradicting things. I'm sorry that you had to, you know, so how do you bounce back from this? Like, how do you
I don't know. I mean, I'm in the middle of this shit. I thought that after a few years, it would kind of like settle down and people would be like, they called you a Nazi for liking Trump. That's crazy, you know?
Yeah,
But here we
yeah,
are in 2020 and it's even worse. Like, I
yeah,
didn't think it could get worse. I thought it was going to just like mellow out and what happened to me was going to be like unreal, like to people. It was like, that sounds crazy. Like, yeah, well, at the time you had to be there, 2016, wild time.
right.
And now here we are, 2020, and it's gone even farther. Now, okay, so before 2016 was if you say the wrong thing, you have the wrong beliefs, you know, you get attacked. Now, 2020, I realize if you don't even say anything, you get attacked. Because the other, I don't know, a month or so ago, whenever that blackout thing happened, it was like I was posting in the middle of the night some pictures on my Lady Alchemy Instagram photo shoot and stuff. And I started getting attacks and like, oh, so you're why are you posting this series when it's supposed to be this like whole Black Lives Matter, like blackout thing? And I had no idea. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is my art account. I'm posting art on it. I'm not doing politics. Go find a political account. She's like, this everyone, other art, that's not an excuse. Other artists are doing this and blah, blah, blah. And basically, if you're not posting the black square, if you're not actively promoting Black Lives Matter, then you get targeted. So it's gotten even worse now. Now it's like your silence, what is it? Your
Your
silence is
silence is violence.
yeah.
Your
So
silence is
it's
violence.
they've taken it to the next level where you can't even be quiet about your beliefs if you don't agree. Because then they sniff that out and go, well, you didn't speak up. So
Yeah. But I mean, like, what if like you're just not glued into what the world is glued into and you know nothing about what's going on in politics and you're just posting on your art account because this is your art account. It's like I have to include politics in what I do now?
now you do.
Like or
Yep.
otherwise you're complicit in something,
Yep.
right?
That's
Like
literally what they're doing now. And I'm just shocked because honestly, you know, when the left attacked me too about stuff and, oh, didn't you go and Gavin and show this or that? I'm like, I don't care anymore. I was like, fuck the right too. Fuck them all. Like, I don't care about any of the politics. And they don't take that. They don't accept that. That's not,
nah, that's not allowed either. You
yeah.
it's either you with us or you against us. Yeah. My friend has a shop, brick and mortar shop. I'm not gonna say what type in the hood. Um, and he didn't post a black box and he woke up to like all these comments. He didn't post a black box because he's running a startup with me. Like we're like doing
Right.
stuff. Like he didn't even know anything about it, right? And then he just woke up the next morning. His Facebook on his business account was like, "Your silence is deafening." And he's like, "Wait, what happened?" He's like, "What happened? Somebody catch me up!"
Yeah,
Like,
and that's how I felt because honestly, I am trying to stay away. I mean, obviously, I follow a lot of like political stuff on Twitter, so I do see things like still, but for the most part, I'm tapped out. I don't work at Rebel anymore. I don't work at Daily Caller anymore. Like, I don't have to be tuned into it anymore. Like,
mhm.
I don't need to. And honestly, it's not for me. I'm an artist. That's what my passion is. So I was all like excited to like put some like edits on a photo, have some like lens flares on this old photo shoot. And I was like, cool, I'm going to post and have these beautiful like alchemy quotes. And then suddenly I'm being attacked for like something. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what?
I didn't get that email.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't know. And the thing is about that too is that I find it so strange how they were like attacking instead of going, hey, just so you know, there's this thing happening where everyone is posting a black box in solidarity for Black Lives Matter, just so you know. That would have been, I would have accepted that. I would have
Right,
been like, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. Wouldn't have
right.
posted a black box, but like, there
Wish
wasn't
you'd have been
that
aware.
conversation. There was
Right.
just attacks. It was like, how dare you post something? And blah, blah. I was like, dude, you could at least let me know. I didn't know. There was no niceness to it, which is
Nah, it
how
was
they
not at
function.
all. Yeah. And so when I tell people like we live in a communist nation, I'm like, and then your agent says, mine serve the Reds. It's just like, bro, like the Bolsheviks have definitely taken over the left. They are steering the car for the left, and like, so what do we? How do we fix this? How do we?
Right. Right. So this is my disappointment with the right, okay?
Okay,
Is that we are so caught up in being the next Eceleb that it's all about getting that viral video, going out to some fucking what is it called? Rally, going to some Antifa thing, going out on the streets, getting attacked, and then posting that video and getting that clout. Okay, everyone's an activist. Everyone wants to be an activist. Everyone wants to be an e-celeb. So our main thing, like, is that we're still stuck in 2016, which is why I criticized Trump's tweet about like 2016 again. Yay! I was like, really? This whole thing is stuck in 2016 because sure that worked in 2016, but like I'm over it. We need to take the next steps. And everyone is so focused on bitching about Netflix, bitching about Hollywood, bitching about what the left has done, bitching about fucking people on the streets at some rally. What we need to do is do like what they did, not as in like be as bad as them, but what did they do that actually worked? What they did, because like let me tell you, these super SJWs, that's not really what changed the world, like the society. Okay, like even Democrats sometimes are like, all right, those people will go over, over the top there. What worked was the long march into the institutions. Golden age of Hollywood was Republican. There was McCarthyism. We were trying to keep the communists away. They snuck in quietly. They were not activists. They were quietly snuck in, started changing, shifting Hollywood, shifting like the narrative of what's happening. They got in through into the universities, started changing things, started becoming professors, started changing the curriculum, started, that's how they change society. And so we don't need any more activists, any more like Twitter celebs. What we need are people going into the institutions, doing the long march, instead of saying, fuck Hollywood, fuck the arts. Why do you even care about a leftist thing? Because it matters, okay?
it
Like
matters.
everyone watches TV. Everyone, I mean, okay, maybe you don't watch TV. People watch Netflix. People watch shows. People
Yeah,
watch movies.
some
Like,
some form of media.
yeah, people want to be entertained. You listen to music. I want to know, what do you do? Sit there and play solitaire with an old fashioned pack of cards all day long? Like, you consume media. So,
Right.
it is important and you shouldn't brush it off. And instead of complaining about kid drag queens, how about help promote another artist that is like doing something? And that's what we don't really do. We don't. I don't see the support for other artists, for other creators, and things like that outside of activism. And I think that's a mistake.
That's a huge point you just made because the the right is antiquated. It's full of boomers, right? And so when you'll attack or criticize one of these clout chasers, one of these right wing clout chasers, they act like all hell is going to break loose if this person falls from grace, right?
Hmm.
And I'm just like, yo, this person has no power in America whatsoever. The
Right.
only thing they have power over is yo dumbass.
Right.
Right? You are sending them money and you're the one supporting them. It's the only thing they have control of. They're not going to change the trajectory of America. They're actually sending you backwards with their rhetoric.
Because they want to keep complaining about the left and they're stuck
Yes.
in that bubble of complaining. They're
Yeah.
not actively fixing it. Okay, so I thought after 2016, we can start to create the world we want to live in. If we're
Yes.
complaining about everything about the left, well, what is it? What world do you want to live in? Let's actively build that. And that's what I want to do. But like you said, you got some investor that's amazing, like, donating some money, shit like that for your company. That's the kind of shit that we need. We need benefactors. We need people that can see the importance of things outside of activism and invest in those things so that we can start doing our long march and start taking back culture and the country. Without that, we're stuck.
It's just, it's just not sexy, right? And I think and it's not microwaved. People want it fast. They want it now. And those quick hits of digs at the left are what's in right now,
Yeah.
And for a while I played that game. It was a very fun game. And then I shattered their dreams when I would criticize somebody on the right, but I was toying with them. I was trying to show them like the mirror, but
Right.
in 2016, it amazed me that I could say the most simplest thing, the most smallest brain thing, as long as it was criticizing the left, it went viral. And I'm like, yo, liberals suck. Viral, like, wow. Like, that's it. That's all it took. Like, just, I'm a black guy that said liberals suck. Democrats suck. Viral, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can type that now and it'll go viral,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like, we don't expect more from people. Like,
Exactly.
so
We need to be expecting more at this point. Like, this is the next level. Okay, guys? Like, we need to do something more. It may not be as glamorous, not getting all that Twitter attention and being a teacher, but you are able to shape the youth. You are able to make a difference in that institution that you're at. Maybe it's not as glamorous going to law school and not being Twitter famous and, doing whatever, but you are a lawyer that people can depend on, like that we can depend on, that we can go to, and that's what's needed. It's not always as glamorous because you're not going to get the fame and the Twitter reaction, but it's needed. And I think,
it's definitely needed. And here's the other problem I'd like to illustrate: the clout chasers, like I said before, are setting the country back. All of us, they're setting us back, and mostly I think it's because they're attracting so much attention that the attention doesn't go where it needs to go.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So in my comic book that I'm working on, actually, I there's something about that where I have my character, Lady Alchemy, is performing, right? And there's other performers. It's like based on real life. These other bitches are performing, and I've seen this happen in real life where they perform, and it's like all about them. Like they're taking everyone's attention because like performance is like a ritual. It's like a magical ritual because everyone's attention is focused on you. So what do you do with that attention? Some of them absorb it and they're just like me, me, me. But when I would perform, I would sense everyone's energy. I could see everyone. They're all focused on me and I have their attention. What do I do with that? I tried to feed it back to them. Like I want to have that energy vibrate back to them and they can feel something back. And I think that's what you're getting at is that like all these Twitter, Ecelebs, whatever, they have all this attention. What are they doing with it? They're just still racking up more attention points and money, attention points, money, attention points, money, when they should be taking all that attention and power that they hold on social media and doing something powerful with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing that from too many people.
Yeah, yeah. They keep us so distracted. You know, they're and that's what they're designed to do. That's what useful idiots are designed to do. Keep us distracted. And like I said the other night, I said, you know, if the right is right and the left are having a certain conversation, that's not probably not the conversation you need to be having. The conversation is like you said, you know, that long term thinking,
Yeah.
uh, re-infiltrating the education institutions, having babies, so on and so forth. You know, you're complaining about how many babies the left kills. It's just like, well, why don't you make triple, right?
That's I'm guilty. I got to get to that ASAP. But yeah,
What's some babies?
yeah, I need babies ASAP. I'm in my 30s, man. It's got to happen.
Yeah, it was about that time.
Yeah, it's like, clock is fucking ticking. No, and it's funny because I remember saying that too before I met my husband, and I was backstage, and I was like, yeah, I think I like hit 30. And it's very hard to date in New York, and I don't know about how Jersey is or wherever tri-state area, but like, fuck, it's hard. It's hard.
Why? Why is it hard?
I don't know. In New York, man, it's like all the women are like feminists, so they're all like independent women, but then all the men are also like perpetual frat boys who just want to like fuck another model next week. You know what I mean? Like, there's another model walking around or some other chick. Like
Is
they keep you
unlimited
like over
supply.
here so they can kind of party and like hang out all the time. And it's very, very difficult. But yeah, before I met my husband, I remember being backstage. I was talking to another girl when we were getting ready, and I was like, you know, I really want to, I need to find a man because I'm 30. Like, it's going to take time to develop the relationship. And then, like, I'm going to need kids. Like, it needs to happen like now. And she was just like, you don't need men. Men are just accessories to use, like, for like sex and shit. Like, you don't need kids. And, you know, like, that's the mentality that they all have. I mean, I've dated men that were like, 42, never married, never kids, you know, incredibly wealthy. And I'm just like, it's weird. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's New York.
Yeah, it's like the left is anti-life.
Yeah.
You know, that's the vibe I get. Is just everything about them is just completely anti-life. Um, somebody's name is fuck Google. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
He said, hats off to Hotep revealing the anti-culture. Thank you. Appreciate you. Jeff Charles, he said, Martina, how do you think people like yourself can fight back against cancel culture and what can others do to help? Jeff Charles, you know, before she answers that question, I think you should get her, do an interview with her on your publication, man, and talk
Oh, that'd
about.
be awesome. Thank you. I mean, I need all the support I can get because, like I said, I'm not in with the in crowd, so
Right.
I get attacked by the left, but then I get ignored by the right. So I don't get that positive, like, you know, balance. I don't get the balancing of the scales happen often. So I really do appreciate if people want to take me on and stuff. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, do you have a answer to that? How do you think people like yourself can fight back against cancel culture, and what can others do to help?
Yeah, I don't know about. I got to think about the fighting back, but I'm looking up because my husband sent me a link, and I want to share it with you guys because he said this is a really, really a great thing that's happening.
Well, so while you look that up, I'll just kind of dive in on that. I've given up. I'll be honest with you. I've washed my hands with people. Period. Black people, leftists, rightists. I've washed my hands. I don't know if you've seen my Twitter recently, but after speaking to John McAfee and Young Farrell, and I just my mind has been so expanded since then that you know it's all about shut up and code at this point. You know, I'm just like shut up and build. So you know, while everybody's complaining about the future, I'm focused on creating it, and
Right.
that's just what's gonna happen over here. So like, we'll do a 10-year look back, and you're gonna be like, yo, how the fuck did Hotep Jesus become a Black George Soros, a benevolent one? Oh, um, you'll understand why because I shut the fuck up. You know, that's my suggestion. I think everybody needs to just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, not shut up as in like censor yourself, but it's like
Right.
you don't need to be the activist. You don't, you know what, like you. And I understand like the need to want to express yourself, which is why I got into my trouble because I think it is healthy to be able to express yourself, and when you
Sure.
hold it in, it's it can be really unhealthy and drive you crazy. So I understand that
Absolutely.
need. I mean, maybe find like some sort of club or you know, an outlet where it won't affect you like on social media or something, but like a place where you can go to where you don't have to like feel really like mentally crazy holding it in. But my husband shared something. I'm going to put it in the chat right now, actually. It's a link, if I can share links. Yeah. It's called unwoke.hr. And it's apparently a website to find work that are, it says, hire thinkers, not activists. Hire courageous, free-thinking, and freedom-loving individuals, not ideologues whose only agenda is to weaponize your brand and business to further a radical cause. So there's an unwoke .hr where I guess you can find
That's awesome.
work. You can find jobs that do not focus on wokeness. So
Really, that's so necessary. That's so
yeah, I mean,
necessary.
I think it's unfortunate that that's where we're at right now,
Right.
but it is necessary because, I mean, even finding new gigs or whatever. I have a roommate, and she's like, "Well, why don't you work here or work there and apply here?" And I'm just like, I'm afraid. One person has to Google my name, and then it's going to be this whole thing that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that this is needed, but it is, and I think it's really cool. So I don't know, maybe let's all get on it, either offer jobs, get jobs, and deal with the unwoke.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get on there. That's definitely right up my alley.
Cool.
But yeah, that, like I said, being in the tech space, the companies that I work with literally work with me because they don't mind my politics or they enjoy my politics.
Right.
Like my AI company, they said, "Yo, your politics are on point. We love it. You're safe here." Because sometimes I go into these meetings and I'm like, have they Googled Hotep Jesus and how much of my content have they watched? Right?
Right.
Because I don't know what video they'll land on and how
Right.
they'll feel about that. But
Yeah.
usually, now, it's become a bonus for me in some spaces because people are wanting to work with me because it's like we can hire a black guy who's super intelligent and we don't have to worry about some Black Lives Matter nonsense happening, right? And then
Right.
we can talk freely. We can have these conversations, and I don't have to, because I personally, I might discriminate in the hiring process. I might not hire a black person, right? Because I'm like, or I might not hire a feminist because I'm like, I just don't want to deal with the headache, right?
Hmm.
Like, and I
Right.
might not hire a super pro Trump guy either because I just don't want to deal with bullshit, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
like,
I hear you, because, like, I mean, there are instances too where I've organized photo shoots. So if I'm not working, there's this thing called the free trade where you have a really amazing photographer who probably charges like 7 to 10 grand for like a wedding or like whatever, like amazing photographer, and they need subjects to take pictures of. So models also charge money. You go to an agency and you have to pay a lot of money to get a model. So there's something called a free trade where there's no money involved. You
okay.
take pictures for free, you model for free, you both get pictures, you both created artwork, boom, portfolio, there you go. So sometimes I find really amazing photographers and I want to work with them, and we set up a free trade. We get the photo shoot, I show up with all my stuff, we do the thing. The entire time I am anxious and nervous because I'm like, I don't know what they think. Do they know who I really am? Have they looked me up? What do I say? Can I like say things? Like I'm trying to like figure them out by the things they say, and so I'm
Yeah,
like walking on eggshells, and that fucking sucks,
it does.
And it's like, do I really have to go and find photographers that align with me politically? Like that sucks. It's stupid, but
Yeah,
it's where I'm
yeah.
at right now. And
It's,
there's actually other people in the burlesque community, other people in the arts, other amazing photographers, and people in the arts, people that do the engineering, the music engineering stuff, whatever. And they do come to me, and they come to me in private DMs and say, "This fucking SJW is fucking crazy. Like I'm on your side.
yeah,
Like I'm totally one of you, by the way, but
I
they
can't say
don't want to
nothing.
be outed." So
Yeah,
they're there, and maybe that's another thing is that I tell people not to really put it, because they sometimes they look up to me for getting canceled and what happened to me, and being like, it's so
you're
great that
so
you're so
brave.
brave that you could be out. I was like, I don't want this. I never
Right.
fucking wanted this, and I don't recommend it. Shut the
Yeah,
fuck up. Like don't don't even get involved because you don't want this headache, and the right will not support you because it's the arts. So like, don't
Yeah.
even bother. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say with that. But yeah, I'm just kind of like, don't idolize it. Don't get involved. Just
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
yeah.
You know, like I said, if I had to do this all over again, I would not be Hotep Jesus. Nobody would know who I am, and I'd be completely behind the scenes doing something.
Oh yeah, so I remember now I'm looping back into it but I think there should be a point where there is enough of us that are kind of like in support of Lady Alchemy that can tell the others to just fuck off. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? You're the one that's going to be fired from this gig because you can't seem to get along with everyone. You either show up, be professional, or fuck off. So I
Right.
think there should be a time where everyone else kind of tells the few loud, annoying ones to get over it, be professional, get over it. So I
Yeah.
hope that there's a point that people rally and kind of support instead of be scared.
Right. So let's talk race.
Okay.
Since you're a former Nazi.
Nazi. Okay, earlier in the stream, I was a Nazi. So cool, we're progressing.
between then and now, you stop being a Nazi.
Yeah. What's up?
What do you? There's talks of a race war. Do you see that as a truth that is possible, that we'll have a race war in America?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes in this like political hyper focus like group that we're in and like Twitter, it certainly seems that way. I can see a major difference because when I first went to college in like 2003, I went up to SUNY Cobleskill upstate. I don't know if you know that, but it's an agriculture school. It's basically everyone gets accepted. It's like a community college where you get to go away, live in a dorm at. And so it's an agriculture school. Technically, they had an articulation agreement with Cornell, and so ag business, all that stuff. A lot of farmers. It wasn't really my thing. It was just, I don't know. I started off there, did really well, then went to NYU. But my point is that they also had a really good basketball program, and it was really easy to get into. So a lot of inner city Black kids would go to Cobleskill, and they had an amazing basketball team. So we had this mix of inner city New York City Black kids, Hicks, and there was Confederate flags hanging out the window of our dorms. Never noticed any race fight, no problems. I mean, I got along with all Black kids. They're always like, damn girl, you got a booty for a white girl. Like they loved it. Like they thought I was like a badass white chick. They loved it.
Yeah.
So there was no race problems from what I saw. I mean, sure, sometimes there's like, of course, there's racism. Racism happens. It will happen. But I didn't see racial tension in 2003. Now, I mean, there are moments where I'm on the subway and there is a Black guy preaching race war, white people are going to burn. And I'm just like looking around. I'm like, I'm the only white chick here.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
You'll see that in New York.
And then I'm like sitting on the subway in Bushwick and like I'm sitting on the, waiting for the subway. And next to me is a little girl, Black girl, and her grandmother. And I could hear them talking. This was when Obama was still president, but it was like talking about, because there's always like the police thing. There was a lot of like, it's always like a thing. I think at the time it was at the Mike Gardner or something. It was the thing with the guy that got
Sean Gardner
cigarettes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she was like teaching her granddaughter about white people being bad, and just teaching her. And I'm listening to her and I'm just kind of like, and I hear the little girl say, but grandma, we have like white people in our family, like so-and-so's white or whatever. And she's just teaching her this really anti-white shit. So it's certainly gone. And now it's 2020. This was back when Obama was president. And it's even worse, where to the point where, I feel afraid at times and I've never felt this way, because usually it's like, oh, a group of Black guys, they'll love me, like They think I'm badass. Cool. But now, total white chick here. But now there'll be a group of like black guys that I have to walk through, and I'm kind of like, they probably hate me because of
Mm.
my skin. They hate me because I'm a white chick. And it's scary now. So, yeah, I mean, it's getting worse, but I don't know if there's actual, you know, in the big picture, if things will go full on like race war. But
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. I think things have gotten worse. Um, and people ask me, "Do you think there's a race war coming?" I always said no. I'm like, nah. People are just too spoiled. We're just
right,
spoiled Americans. We enjoy our, but if you watch the media a lot, you would definitely think so. I still don't think there's a race war going to start, but I
right.
think tensions are definitely
Tension.
getting stronger, and I don't like it at all. At all. I don't like it from the white people. I don't like it from the black people.
Right,
And not because I disagree, just because I know how manipulated it is.
right, right, right.
There's a million things wrong with America, and racism is not the first thing I want to tackle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to it too, because I mean, as a first generation American, it also gets really irritating because I get looked at as like some slave owner or something. And I'm just like, my mom came here in 1985. Okay. Like, I have nothing to do with American history just because of the color of my skin. Okay. And in
Yeah,
fact, Slavic people were slaves to Islam and stuff. So, like, I got
yeah,
my own fucking shit to deal with where I'm from. So please don't judge me. But I understand that it's like a deep rooted thing with America. My issue too is with both black and white people perpetuating this hate is because they are teaching people to hold on to their resentment, to hold on to that hate from decades or centuries or whatever. And I think that's wrong and damaging because if
it
you
is.
look at any sort of therapy, if you look at any sort of faith or anything, what do they teach? Like, let's say someone was like raped by their uncle as a kid, right? When you go and get therapy for that, they teach you to forgive. That doesn't mean the uncle raping you is okay,
Right.
but you need to have forgiveness in order to heal and to move on with your life instead of holding on to that for the rest of your life. So, people teaching the black community or black people to hold on to this hate is very damaging, I think, to the general black like consciousness. I think it's really
It
bad.
is. It is. You're actually 100% correct on that because at one point I had a disdain for white people. I wouldn't say hate. Sometimes I do say it was hate. Um, in retrospect, it probably wasn't hate. It's just like a lot of animosity was built up
Yeah.
inside of me, and it was very self damaging. And once I kind of like let that go, I felt better. It
Yeah.
was just like I felt like completely different.
It's the first step of any sort of therapy. I mean, AA, all like any of these things to like help improve yourself is the first step is forgiveness. So it's
Yeah.
just crazy that that is like blocked out from that perspective. Now, listen, as a white chick, like I grew up in a white town. I don't really know that much about like black culture. Like it's not my thing.
Right.
I don't care for rap. I don't know. I don't know it. Never dated a black guy. Like, it's not my thing. And I want, like, I like my town. I like my town like this white, like, farm hick town. Like, it's what I know and I like it. That doesn't mean I don't support the black community having their culture, their community,
Yeah.
their place where they feel like is like, this is my hood where I grew up and like
Yeah.
my thing. I don't
Yeah.
know it. I'm not familiar with your thing, but I totally support you doing that. And, like I said, as a first generation American, the black people in America are more American than I am. Okay. They have a claim to it way more than I do. So I'm not trying to say like white supremacy, let's get rid of them. Like, you guys are more American than I am, and I support you having your communities, your culture, your thing, 100%. But I don't want to be called racist because I don't know Black culture and I like being around my culture.
All right, so we about to bring you back around the Nazi territory now, because you said a few things I gotta
Okay.
pick at just to mess with you, right? Would you date a Black guy? Or you said you never have. You were not attracted to Black men.
I have not in my history. Like, that's not. I mean, I'm not. I've never like been around them like that, and it's not like I'm particularly attracted to white guys. In particular, one white guy, Jack. Don't worry, don't worry. I'm attracted to one guy. But yeah, I mean, that has also now a topic of like being racist if you're not into that, like, sexual. I mean, same thing with the trans. If you're not attracted to a trans person, suddenly you're transphobic.
Then you're transphobic, yeah.
And I think that's messed up. Okay, you know, some people are not into older women. Okay, I shouldn't be offended by that. Okay, some people are not into brunettes. Whatever, not their thing. You know, so I think it's like messed up to be telling someone what they should be attracted to or not. I mean, go for it. I mean,
you're attracted to just white men, right?
I'm attracted to my husband.
Okay, your husband. That's a great answer. Would you consider yourself pro-white? Like, I'm not necessarily like the negative aspects of what they call white nationalists, because we know what white nationalist means in people's minds. Here at the Hotep Jesus Show, white nationalist means I'm proud to be fucking white. I don't hate you, but I kind of like hanging around my white people.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was saying too, is that like that's not what I know. Like, I don't know the Black community. Like, I know my thing in my town and like the way that like what I'm around. And I think that should be okay. That doesn't mean like we should be like, let's start getting more Black people into our town. Like, well, why? Like, I mean, if it happens and they move there, like I'm not complaining. I was friends with like the 2 Black people in my town as a kid. I was a runner in cross country. So if you can imagine, the Black people were on the cross country and track team. Yeah. So yeah, actually the Black girl and the 2 Black guys in my town, I was friends with them. But they were. You
know they're gonna kill you. You know they're gonna kill you for the I have Black friends.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I brought you up. I was in like a family chat too, because my mom's a Trump supporter. But then we have like some little. It was like getting heated, like back, like the Black Lives Matter conversation. Like, there's this thing in my town too. Okay, let me share this. My hometown, like I said, I'm from like some white suburban farm town, you know, upstate New York. And there is this mural in town, right in the center of town that we have, and it's of a Dutch immigrant, because that's where, like, New York is Dutch, very Dutch. Our buildings are Dutch. So we had Dutch immigrants upstate, and so Dutch immigrant, like, mural painted in town of a girl, like, pushing, like, a wagon, an apple wagon, because we produce apples. I don't know if you know, that's why we're the, like, Big Apple. We actually produce apples, the Empire Apple, actually. And apple pies and shit. So, and it became very controversial since this whole Black Lives Matter blackout thing, this mural. And everyone was like, that's a racist mural. Look at her dark. That's a slave worker, blah, 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 blah. And like the artist is actually a leftist Democrat. And she was getting attacked. And there was a petition to take down this racist mural. Blah, blah. She's like, no, that's a Dutch immigrant. And then it's just like this whole conversation of why it's still racist, even though it's a Dutch immigrant, because the time was racist. And it got like defiled. It was like the face was chipped at. Then they just painted over it. This mural has been up for like 25 years and now it's gone. So like there's this whole thing about like, you know, having this infiltrate our town where it's like, what the fuck? Why? Like, I don't know what you guys are trying to do. Like, you can't force Black people to live here, and you can't force this like, let's be less racist thing. Like, we're just a farm town. Like, let it happen what happens. Like, stop trying to force this kind of thing. So I don't know. Ridiculous.
Yeah. That's let me hop into some super chats. I'm gonna circle back. Daniel Hawk said, I posted Justin Trudeau on blackface for my Black Square. Halawe said they've won the media and culture wars. Now they're picking off the survivors. Good assessment. Mary O'Donnell said, Miss Hotep's been told you last night. Hotep Jesus been so prolific lately with his interviews. We'll have to catch up. Thanks to his interview. Good stuff. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate you. The episode last night was amazing, by the way. It's definitely monumental. Um, Now we're okay. So yeah, they're
Oh my god! I
so
think someone. I think people might be livid. They said she doesn't want like black neighbors. No, that's not the thing. Listen, I lived in Bushwick. I lived in Brooklyn many times. Like I said, my neighbors were gangsters. They were like red, like was it Crips, Reds? I don't know. Whatever. The Bloods. No, they're Bloods. That's what it is. Bloods. And they were cool. They loved me. Every time I came out to go to work, perform, and I'm all made up and got my hair like up and everything in my bag. They're just like, "Hey, going to perform tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah." I felt like they protected me, like they loved me. But the only fear that I had was when Antifa put that article out calling me a Nazi and stuff like that, and it was getting around town because there was a black guy that I knew that I met at a bodega around the corner that became my Facebook friend, and he said, "Hey, just so you know, this article is going around." And it was scary for me because I was like, I know these black neighbors and people on my block, and like, what if they're just like that white girl that lives over there is like a Nazi? Like that's dangerous to
it
me.
is dangerous. It is
So
dangerous.
yeah, no, I mean, I don't want people to take that the wrong way. I'm sorry if I.
Well, I have a bunch of new subscribers ever since I interviewed Young Pharaoh. Young Pharaoh's like far right Hotep, if that's even a thing. So I have a lot of pro black people that
Yeah.
just joined my channel. They're not familiar with the content I put
Right.
out here.
Well, I
So
mean, and
I
like I
have to.
said, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off on your show. No, but like I said, I just want to reiterate is that like I fully support the black community totally having their community, their culture, their, place where they can feel comfortable and whatever. I 100% support that. Like
Yeah,
do
well, let me just cut these people down really fast. When so and so didn't like you in school, did that matter? Did you cry about it? Because if you did, you're a sad individual crying about somebody who didn't like you. I don't care if white people like me or not. I don't care. I love myself so much. I don't care who likes me and who doesn't. So I think that's a flaw in black consciousness now that's been put there because of integration and integrationists. That white people somehow, if a white woman's not attracted to a black man, there's a problem. I'm not exactly attracted to white women. I'll be honest with you. If it's a bunch of women walking down the street, my eyes go straight for the black woman first. I might not even see the other white women. I prefer Asian women over white women. Like especially if they mixed with a little bit of black in it, a little blazing girls is hot. They say, and they're traditional housewives. Like that's a great pick. So I think people are allowed to have their preferences. Like you said, I might like somebody based upon hair color, right? And I think today, especially the internet age, you can actually pick your mate exactly how you want them. I want an Italian girl who makes six figures, uses an iPhone, and doesn't have an Instagram account, right? Like you can literally like start picking people based upon physical features, geographic locations. You can literally pick who you want. This is the best time to be alive as far as dating is concerned in many ways. Some ways not so much because of social media and everybody's ability to have choice. But it's just weird when people say, "Oh, she's not attracted to black guys, so she's racist." No, she's not attracted to black guys because she's not attracted to black guys. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think
I
that's
mean,
that's really weird.
there's a girl that I knew from my hometown too, and she's a really lovely lady, and she has a black husband and mixed race babies, and I mean, she just looks so happy, and they look healthy, and they look great, and I fully support people if they are in a mixed race relationship, as long as it's healthy and they're not like doing this whole, you know, Black Lives Matter type conversation about it. Because I did know one guy that had like a black dad and a white mom, and he was just like flat out like white people are racist. So I was like, okay, so your mom's white. So a bunch of black guys were like beat her up and spit on her and was saying that's for slavery. You okay with that? I'm like, you okay with that? Really? So
Yeah.
I hope that there's no like tension with it and one owes the other something more. I don't think that's healthy. But if they like that girl I know, I mean, if they're happy, like I'm happy for them. Like good for them. It's
You know,
not.
here's the problem with white people in America and maybe even abroad. They don't understand what black people went through in this country. And when I say that, the first thing people might think about are racism and slavery. And that's not what I'm talking about. There's something that happened that arguably is worse than racism. And that is the installation of the fear program at the adolescent level. As you said, grandma speaking to a child, installing the fear of white people, that fear program. Now, grandma's doing it because she was programmed. That program was installed in her. Who's installing this program? Schools and the media. You know, like you got to remember, black people in America have no history, right? If they're going by McGraw Hill, right? If you do some independent research, you can find our history. But if you're going by McGraw Hill, it starts at slavery. So subconsciously, black people think they're slaves, right? So they have no identity. So you're dealing with is a mentally lost tribe of people, which is why you guys are trying to figure out, white people are trying to figure out, like, yo, why are these people acting like this? Because these people are mentally inept. Our minds have been stolen from us since childhood.
Hmm.
Since childhood, we have not had the option to choose individualism, to understand individualism. It's been fuck whitey from day one, right? And that's the program that is even installed in the history books. White man put black man in chains. Subconsciously, you got to think as a black person, well, maybe white people ain't my friend.
That's very true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, there's a kid in my hometown too that made a Facebook post that went viral, and everyone started attacking him. Poor kid. He's a Mooney religious kid, and he didn't realize he was saying anything wrong. But he was saying something similar to what you were saying about black culture, like black people not having a culture because they're just like what you said. They're being told that they're this, this, and that. They can't own homes. Why can't they own homes? Like it's just rap music is their culture. Like what? Like
Well, the whole thing is there's some truth to that. We can
family
own
unit.
homes, but there are some instances where it's difficult for black people to get loans, right? Because the loan officer at the place is I've dealt with it personally
Oh, okay.
with
I don't know.
family,
See, I
like
don't know these
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. But that's like a very specific thing, right? Like it they'll like it could be the realtor, it could be the loan officer, and they see you black, and they want to just show the home to the white person. You know what I mean? It usually
Their name's
happens.
Hotep Jesus. They're like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, yeah, you know. So there's some discrimination that happens. But again, I don't think that's the end all be all of black people. And I think that's a problem that's easily rectified by building our own banks.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you mentioned something earlier too about like the whole pulling the whole black friends thing too. Yeah, I was mentioning there was some conversation in my family chat where it was going back and forth about this mural, the fucking mural in town, right? And me and my mom, who are the two Trump supporters, were like, why is everyone talking to Trump supporters racist? You guys are talking to us as we're racist. We're the ones that actually have the black friends. You know, and I mentioned it. I was like, yeah, I'm about to go on Hotep. Jesus, he's this black guy. And I was like, just like naming like people. I was like, I've been on Anthony Brown Logan's show. Love that guy. Like, all this stuff. I was like, me and my mom are the ones with black friends, and you guys are the liberals telling us we're racist. I've never seen you hang out with black people.
yeah, real talk. That's so true. That's so true. Um, they talk all this talk, but again, they don't have any black friends. It's just like how. So that's why I think sometimes they're projecting their racism on other people, and that's that white guilt. That's what a real white guilt is. It's those people on the left,
Right.
But just to summarize what I was saying before, black people have a mental illness. Um, and I mean, we do. I had it. I got over it. I still got a little bit left. I still have fear of white women. They scare me. They make me nervous. Uh, Cause they accuse you of shit that you ain't do.
Oh,
You know. I've been accused of all types of shit.
Interesting.
I've been accused of rape and,
You're
like,
talking about those like basic bitch white girls. I know what you're talking about. Like in the
yeah,
subway,
yeah, yeah.
like in the subway. Oh my god, they annoy me because I'll be hearing someone like, and they're like, "Oh my god." So like the other day, Sally,
Yes.
and I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, this girl."
Yeah, yeah. Like those types right there, like when I see them, I run. Like
Yeah.
I literally like, oh, I can't be around here. I might get accused of something. Like I literally run. I mean, I've been at jobs before where white women have said I was intimidating. And I'm like, bitch, you from Russia. There's no way, there's no way I could be intimidating you. Like you was just sitting up here like cussing me out 5 minutes ago. The
I
boss
kind of
come
see it
around.
though. I kind of see it. Maybe it's that New York vibe that you were saying earlier in the
Yes.
beginning of the stream. But
Yes.
like, I see it. I see you as like this. I would be afraid of you if I were probably like a leftist or said something wrong that you didn't agree with. I'd be like, "Ooh, don't hate me. Calm
Yeah.
down." Like yeah, it is like aggressive. So I get it, but
Yeah.
I do see like you have a good soul too. Like you're never gonna hurt someone. You're not
Right.
like
Right.
hurtful, but like you're like intense. Like we're
I
intense.
am intense. I am intense. And I can see why somebody would say, "Hey, I feel intimidated by this guy," because the way I speak, I'm very like upfront, and strong. But there's been times where they've flat out just been doing some shady shit. Like we was just cool 2 seconds ago. The boss walked in, and now you bugging out. Like,
Oh
come
my
on, bitch! Like,
god,
stop
fuck
playing.
those bitches. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, So like I just got this fear of white women. One time I was in the hallway with some chick and she, this is high school, and she said something to me and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck are you talking about?" I didn't even say nothing back. I was just like, "What? What's your problem?" So like, and I'm at my locker, right? And her
Right.
locker is next to my locker. And she's like, "Get out of here." I'm like, "Yo, I gotta do some things in my locker." "Nah, get out of here." I don't remember specifics. All I remember is her is screaming at the top of the lungs, "Ah, ah, help, help, help." And I'm like, "Oh wow, you about to pull this right now?" I'm like, let me hurry up
Oh
and get
my
the fuck up
god.
out of here. Yeah, and then hustling down the hallway, like, yo, like y'all not about to get me. Like,
Well, yeah.
but that's the racist Italian town that I went to, right? Like where I
Okay.
grew up, it was I dealt with racism. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. We dealt with racism in my school, in my high school. It just is what it is. So it's a fear I have to get over. But like I said, you have to understand that black people, we have a mental illness that we are trying to overcome. A lot of it is due to ignorance and lack of real education. I'm not talking about, some paper on the wall that said you graduated from a university. You know what I mean? Like actually being educated on the real facts that aren't really being told about United States history and so forth. Because if you understood United States history, you understand how racism came to be what it is, because it wasn't inherent within white people. I personally don't think. Um,
Hmm.
you know, um, but yeah, I don't know. It's a tough time for me. Uh, I know it's a tough time for white women and white people as a whole. you know, um, do you get the Karen thing ever?
No, because I don't think I really do care
Yeah,
anything.
you don't do Karen things. Yeah,
I think I do care any things, but also, I mean, my name is Martina, and I look very exotic. So, like,
right.
calm down with the Becky and Karens with me. It's not gonna work, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're very like more like ethnic white person.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean that's the thing I've gotten my entire life too. Like I remember just like going to college, like being young or whatever. My whole life has always been like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "New York." No, like,
mm,
"Where are you from?" Oh, like the Hudson Valley, New York. Like, no, no, no. Like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm Croatian. Like, it's the first thing you ask you too. It's like people all my, and now I'm used to it. Like now I'm like, okay, I know what's happening here. Like I'm Croatian. Like,
yeah, 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 yeah. We can pick up on that vibe.
but yeah.
Yeah. Um, Also, black people are culturally white in America. We're not black people in America. We are culturally white. You can get this book by Thaddeus Russell, Renegade History of the United States. There's Black Rednecks and White Liberals, that and both of these books have, great historical context as to how black people became white. Um, uh, Thaddeus Russell in our interview, we talked about Brown versus Board of Education. and how
Mm.
integration was about turning black people into white people, and that's what
Mm.
integration was about, making us assimilate culturally. Um, so yeah, that so when you said before, you said, you Black Americans are more American than I am, right? That's true, right? Like that's totally true, and I mean it from like a cultural standpoint.
Right. Right. Yeah, me too. Because it's like, I mean, it like blows my mind because like I don't have that like genetic DNA of being American from like Civil War times, you know? Like, for
Yeah.
me, it's like my DNA just like, it's like, boom, like I got these visuals on like in Europe on a mountain in like Bosnia somewhere or something, like, you know? So it's like black people. Oh, my roommate came in, close the door. Yeah, so like black people are like way more um, American. Like they have that history in America, like way more than I do. I
Yeah.
don't have that genetic DNA attachment to America like as much as they do. Like it's all yours. Like I'm not taking it away from you.
So, what are your relationships like with your black friends? Are they Trump supporters? Are they on the other side of the aisle? Are they cool with you being a Trump supporter? Or
Yeah, so I mean, I have a few black friends. Most of them are Trump supporters, but from before the election, I do have a few black friends. That girl that I told you was that beautiful girl that worked for my house at the club that I worked at, she DM'd me recently and said like how she misses me and like what are you up to and started asking me questions and it just was like warmed my heart. I was like, oh, like all the attacks I've gotten and you're still like, hey girl, what's up? She's dating a white guy, so I don't know.
oh, okay,
Um,
she.
I was gonna say I should hook you up, but I was like, oh, she's like dating someone.
Oh
But
no, I got a lady. I got a lady.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, but I got Jay. He's probably in the chat right now. It's my buddy Jay. He's in my Discord too. And
So you don't have any black lefty friends?
okay, so with that, I have a few people from before the election still on my like Facebook friends. Like the
Right.
online people are my friends. Like you're my friend
Right.
now, okay, Hotep? Like even if we haven't met in person. But they're not left or right. They're definitely not Trump supporters, and they
Mm,
may say some sort of like more black powery things, but they can also criticize like Black Lives Matter and they're still
mm,
cool with me. They seem to be really like more rational. And that black guy that warned me about the article that I met at the bodega in my neighborhood in Bushwick, he was really cool and he was like really just like understood the situation and was not like hardcore like fuck you white supremacist kind of person. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the more like straightforward. That's what I've noticed actually about the few black friends that I have. About the black friends that I have is that like they really are strong. Like they're really strong. Like they're not really picking one side or the other, but they're like really strong about what they're saying, what their beliefs are. It can be sometimes where I'm kind of like, ouch, as a white person, but at the same time, it's not Black Lives Mattery, and I really
mm,
respect them for that, and they respect me, and we can have that dialogue, and that's like fucking cool. I really
mm-hmm.
like that.
Fuck Google said Hotep is walking the lonely road. So did Buddha. Yeah, kind of got to do it, man. Lady A secretly loves Aztecas. He's over here flirting. She got a man, yo.
No, it's
um,
really funny too. I don't know. Maybe you can explain this, but like my husband got into a little like back and forth on Twitter with the girl that actually connected us to do this stream. I think Sophia, Hotep Sophia or something.
okay, yeah.
Patrick. And I was like, no, she's cool. She's cool. She's not like a Black Lives Matter person. And I was like, it's fine. And he's like, what is a Hotep anyway? And I was like, I don't know. Let me ask Jay, who's in like our Discord. He's like our black friend. I thought it was so funny. And then we have like the Yakub like emojis and shit. You know, like you. So we were just
Yeah.
having fun about that. But I was like,
So
I don't
what is that? How he explained us? Is like the Yakub emoji?
know. I think Yakub emojis popped up, but Jay is like 21 or some shit. So I don't
I
know.
mean, it's not far from the truth, you know.
Oh, okay.
it's definitely not far from the truth. You know, hoteps can be assumed as like black supremacists, right? Um, and I'm speaking very general for the greater community. We are very much a type of people that are like black first, black this, black that, black this, black, right?
Mm.
And the older I get, the less I become of that. Um, I'm more like, all right, what the fuck are we doing today? You know, it's like, all right, we got the melanin, cool. We got, you know, we was Kangs, cool.
We were
Um,
scared.
you know, they're Yakub, cool. They're Edomites, cool. What are we doing today? You know, what are we building today? You know, and that's the older I get, that's more like where my mind is at. It's like, take all this rhetoric, what are you gonna do with it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like a youthful thing to be really like passionate about some sort of thing like that, you know?
Yeah.
When you're young, you're really into it. You're like, I'm black, I'm going all black, let's go, you know? But yeah, after a while, what else is there about life? There's definitely much more to life than that, and relationships than that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I remember back in high school, you know, at the age of 16, I got a Black Panther tattoo because I was just, that's the shit I was on. You know, I was on like fuck whitey, you know, it's all about black people. And I remember right around that time, Polo, Ralph Lauren became popular. And I was scratching my head. I'm like, Polo? Ralph Lauren with the polo dude on it? Swinging the club? Like, black people don't play polo. Like, these are the thoughts that was going through my head. And you gotta remember, I'm super pro black, so I'm wearing like all naughty wear or Tupac gear or
Fubu,
huh?
Fubu,
Fubu.
that shit.
Yeah, or cross colors. You know, like I was trying to buy all the black brands. And then the next year I came back to school and everybody was wearing polo and Tommy Hilfiger. And I'm
Tommy
like,
Hilfiger, yeah.
I was like, yo, that's ain't that white people clothes, y'all? Like, and I was trying to make sense out of it. Like, how did this become cool like overnight? Like, I left school, it was cross colors. We went through the summer. I'm in the hood in the summer. I came back to the suburbs, and everybody's wearing polo. And I'm like, yo, like Zach Morris wears polo. Y'all, like, we not supposed to wear polo, y'all.
Zach Morris, yes. Dams. Yeah.
I'm like, yo, Zach Morris wears a pink polo. Why are we wearing like white designer brands? And
Have
that's not,
you? Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off?
no, I'm like, that's my point. Like, black people are white.
Yeah. No. Have you talked about on any of your podcasts actually the Telecommunications Act of 1996 and how that changed like rap music and
Tell me about that.
ooh, okay. Haven't looked this up in a while, so like this is like when I used to really start looking into the politics, like 2013 time. But should look this up. So Bill Clinton was president. And it's the Telecommunications Act of 1996. It pretty much essentially just like changed. There's a lot of like Black Power people talking about this too because like it's legit. It shifted power. So like rap used to be like independent. It was like good music. I mean, not it
Mm,
wasn't my thing, but it was like talking about relevant things that like had to
yeah.
do with their
Hotep,
community.
rap used to be Hotep.
Yeah, it was their thing, but then it became like corporatized and
Right.
something with the Telecommunications Act, something happened, change of powers kind of happened. Then it became like this caricature of like gangsta, fuck bitches, all that kind of shit, and it has shaped like black culture and white culture because then you get like all the wiggers and like the white people like trying to be like oh yeah, like whatever. Uh, fuck bitches and smoke blunts. I mean, the blunts are cool, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you should really look into it.
I'm
Actually,
gonna.
I think that'd be
I
a
know.
really
I know too.
interesting.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've never looked into it, but now that you said it, because 1996 was so prolific, like I said, that's when I got my Black Panther tattoo, and then I come back to school the next summer. It's just like, what the fuck happened to y'all? Like,
Yeah,
and that's why I didn't get along with a lot of black people in my school. Like, all my friends were black, but they weren't like these other type of blacks. Like the type of black kids I hung out with didn't even care about how they dressed. You know what I mean? They just threw on whatever. And I wasn't like that. I had Tommy Hilfiger. I was fresh to death, you
Yeah,
know,
well, okay.
but
So I have this thing where I say, because the thought thing online, I say, well, in The Simps, said the quality of The Simps is directly proportionate to the quality of the thought. And I have the same thing with like my gays. So I remember I had a roommate that had gays over. I was like, oh, I hear gays voice. I used to like be a fag hag, total fag hag. And I came out and her gays were like, the shirt was too short. It was like total like not fitted clothes, and I was like, what the fuck kind of gays are these? I was like,
yeah,
man, the quality of you is the same as the quality of me. My gays are fashionable as fuck. Okay, so cool. My black friends will be like, the
yeah,
quality of my black friends will be fashionable.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's that's why I'm like this whole race situation is just real funny to me because I'm like all of y'all are white people, and it's not even white people. All of y'all are just corporatists, right? We're all corporatists.
Right, right,
We're all one race, and that race is corporatists.
right.
We all love corporations and the luxuries that they provide us, and the leisure and entertainment they provide us, and that's the one thing we have in common. Um, and it's the one thing that's killing us as well. When you look at black people and it's like, white people is such and the third, and I'm like, yo, your closet is full of Nike, your closet is full of Gucci, like those are white owned companies. Louis Vuitton is, and Louis Vuitton like sets up this monopoly on the black community because it's Louis Vuitton, Moet, and Hennessy. So it's like they gonna get us in the clothing store, and then at night when we wear those fancy clothes to the club, we're gonna buy their alcohol. So they completely have a
Right.
monopoly over our culture. And I'm like, how y'all saying it's a system of white supremacy, but y'all participating in it? So like until I see a lack of participation in this stuff, like I can't take the black community serious. That's why I stick to my HOTEPs because the HOTEPs are more like, they'll be in Harlem selling like authentic African clothing, and we have our traditional dress, and you
I
know,
love buying the African oils, the Egyptian musk.
oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
my jams, the Egyptian musk. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
you go down 125th Street, you'll see the merchants out there selling all that type of stuff. I love it. Sometimes I go out there just to walk around, just to get the culture in. It's so black and beautiful, you
But
know.
yeah, no, in the 90s with the Hilfiger too, that was like a strategic corporate like push
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
the black community to be like, now it's like Hilfiger, like that's the cool thing. It maybe had to do with celebrities too.
it did.
See how much we like no matter how much we try to bitch about Hollywood or celebs or whatever, like we're always influenced by them. If you're not influenced by the Hollywood celebs right now because they're too leftist, you're influenced by the Twitter Ecelebs. So like it's really influential.
hmm Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the huge problem here, and so that's why I come back to like shut up and code, shut up and build, shut up and do
Right.
art, right, and shut up and paint, whatever it is that you do, like yeah, like what are
Well,
you gonna say?
well, speaking of, so I do work on some stuff. I mean, you can see all my like artsy shit here. I'm working on a comic book because I don't know if you're aware of this actually, but there's something called Comicsgate, which is kind of like Gamergate, but with comics. So the comics industry is like DC and Marvel. We're doing some shit about like I don't know, having like gay marriages with like these established characters on the front cover, like then like two men, like I don't know, Spider Man and like someone like kissing, some other like male.
Yeah,
They're
it's
doing
got taken over by the SJWs.
Yeah, they're making it all SJWs. So it created this like divide with some people, and there's some comic book pros and a lot of fans that were not really happy about it. And they kind of branched off and went independent. It's called Comicsgate, like Comic Skaters or whatever. And they started doing incredibly well. So this is an arts community that is like MAGA who um, are actually doing something more than complaining. Sure, they complained about the SJW-ness in the comics, but then they started opening up Indiegogo campaigns and creating their own platforms. And let me tell you, Ethan Van Sciver has, I mean, I think his recent campaign, maybe Jay could say it in the chat or whatever, I don't know what it was, but 1 million, I think he pulled on Indiegogo. I think he reached 1 million. Total, he's made a few million
Yeah, I
on
know you're talking about.
campaigns. There's a few other campaigns. I mean, made over 500,000, over 100,000, quite a few. my comic book first timer made over $50,000, and these are people actually doing something other than complaining and creating, and there is support for it. There's comic book fans and what have you. So I'm working on a comic book that's kind of like explains my story and what happened to me without it being political. It's more of a like I'm using fantasy comic book kind of world in order to tell the story of what happened to me without it being all like MAGA or something. So I'm working on that, but also there is a magazine that I'm working on, and like I know print is out, but we like it's cool. Print is fucking cool. I've been bitching too. I did a video with Rebel. It was about the information superhighway. Remember that? How it's closed because back in the day, the internet was the wild, wild west. You could find anything on that shit. And
Yeah.
nowadays, like I would Google things I Googled back in 2013 about cultural Marxism, and now it's all like right wing, fake news, like propaganda. And I'm just like, what? Like, where's all the information I used to find on here on this? Now
Yeah,
it's all
you have to be
just
you have to be a computer scientist to find information now.
yeah, yeah. So it's like that's like over, and I think we need to return to kind of traditional books. Like go make books, print books, buy books. Like that's going to be our new secret way of like transferring
Mm.
information because everything's going to be censored. So I don't know. I think this whole magazine idea is really cool. Big like old school like art magazine, and there's a lot of really talented, amazing people. It's generally what I tweet about and retweet generally is like other really amazing talent that is just not getting recognized. And hey, if I have a platform, I'm like verified with a certain amount of followers, and there's amazing artists that have no traction, no one's paying attention to them. That's what I'm all about. I'm like sharing their stuff, getting it out there, trying to like, hey guys, I'm going to be spreading culture. That's like my way of like doing something instead of complaining. And I want to like just collect all these really cool artists. I started talking to Billy Corgan from like who that is, like Smashing Pumpkins, lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins. It's white people shit. Hotep.
White people should.
No, he's a big rock star from the '90s, legend,
Yeah.
like legit, like part of like MTV when it was like cool and stuff.
Yeah, I
And
remember Smashing Pumpkins.
yeah, he's the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins, but he contacted me because I was on Alex Jones, and I was like, yeah, I used to watch you when like Billy Corgan was on here, and like I love the whole like arts thing mixing with like the conspiracy, like fuck both sides. It's like divide and conquer shit. And they reached out to me, and we've been in communication. So I want to have like really cool people, whether they're small or big, but just like not like make this a political magazine, but just like showcase really cool artists that should be seen, need to be seen, and just like there's a really good magazine too called like Twin magazine that was like from like the '60s or something in Germany. It's really cool. It like shifted culture for the youth. It was
Mm.
like post-war, really amazing designs, like the typography mixed with like the way that they did it, and it was hugely influential. So I think that could be something really cool to be a part of. I mean, people, if you write something, you have really good writing or fine art or photography, various things. This is what we need is to like compile and make like this cool thing to happen. And then I realized that some talents, like for example, music, there's this really, really amazing band that contacted me. They do a lot of like electronic kind of stuff. It's really fucking dope. And they had like 14 followers and they had really amazing music. And I was like,
Mm.
man, an article in the magazine is not going to do it justice. So we got to show their videos and their music. It's really fucking cool. And so I created this like TV version of it. And there's like animators. I don't know if you know YOLO Swag. Do you follow YOLO Swag? Oh man, he's so funny. And he does these little like animation things, but he's like one of us. He's not an SJW. And it's really funny. He's just so talented and funny, and he doesn't have that many like views either or following. So want to compile that, make like an old like Adult Swim, like Liquid TV type, like old
Mm.
school like MTV vibe, and
Mm.
have that out. And I mean, this should be really like we're talking about entertainment, bitching about the left, bitching about Hollywood. Let's build up our own shit, and hopefully it'll be a really entertaining for people. They're just like, this is a
Yeah.
cool new hip thing. So those are my projects. I'm actively working on things, not just bitching.
How much is it going to cost to get Hotep Jesus cameo in the comic book?
Oh shit, that's a good question because you know what? Cameos is a thing that people do offer in the comic books.
Yeah,
They
I
do.
need,
They
I,
do.
I need in, I
Yeah.
need,
Fuck
I
yeah.
need in.
That's so funny.
Send me an invoice, and I'll find the money. But
Find the money.
I'll find the money and we'll sell it. Sell a bunch of copies. You
That'd be
know,
awesome. Fuck yeah.
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 I just want to show it to my kids. Really, that's when to talk shit.
Yeah.
But
That's a big
you actually draw that stuff though?
No, I'm just a
Okay.
creator. So I created like the story and
Okay.
everything. I'm just managing the artist and the colorist. There's a lot to making a comic book. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I'm familiar. I worked on one in the
Oh
past.
really?
Yeah, FBE Comics.
Oh my god, that's so fucking cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. We protagonist is this black guy. Um, was like a black Bruce Lee with superpowers. Super dope comic idea, and he's got a whole bunch of them, whole bunch of just black superheroes. Um, it's really dope. Um,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, I'm familiar with the process. It's a lot. A lot
Yeah.
goes into making those things.
Yeah.
Even finding it going from one cartoonist to another can completely change the look of your work as well. So and the planning and then the cost. But you said something interesting. You said print is dead, and I think print is dead for people who don't know how to market, right?
Mm.
Um, there's a lot of people today who have physical subscription plans on things like books. Like Ben Settle has a monthly subscription plan. You pay $100 a month to get like 14 pages, right? And people are paying for this because it's so valuable.
That's awesome.
Um, it's probably 20 pages. Um, but again, it's a physical book that comes to your house. It's no different from a magazine. I think it's, if the product is great and you market it well, the idea of print being dead is just ridiculous at that
Yeah.
point.
I mean, I
You know,
don't believe it. I love print. I love real books. I love tangible things to hold in your hand, especially if it's something artsy. Like you don't want to see it on a screen.
yeah, yeah. How yeah. So, are you voting this year?
um, yeah, probably.
Are you voting Trump?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm not. That doesn't mean I'm like 100% happy with him. Um,
Right. What don't you like? What are you unhappy with Trump about?
well, he hangs around a lot of grifters, and I'm pissed that I like ruined my career so that he can just go around not fulfilling his promises and just like hang around all these grifters. So I'm a little annoyed. He gets a little boomery at times. I'm like, fucking Trump, come on. But I mean, I got into this mess. Let's just go. Let's go full 8 years. Fuck it. I mean, what else,
Yeah.
what are the other options? I don't even know what the other options are. Everyone's saying
Death.
what?
Death. That's the other option. It's like Trump or death.
I mean, it's like I'm
Trump.
not going to vote Democrat. I've never voted Democrat in my life. I just, on principle, will not do that. Plus, after losing my whole career over like Trump, I'm not going to just now turn around and be, like vote Democrat. It's not happening. I don't even
Yeah.
know what other options on the right there are. Who's opposing him on the right?
Nobody. Ain't nobody gonna oppose Trump. I'm ready for 4 more years. I think Trump's good for America. In some ways. In some ways, he's bad for America, as we're seeing how that's manifested. Mostly, the media is to blame.
Right. Right. Yeah.
What?
Granted, he's had a hard time. Like, I'm not going to say that he just didn't fulfill and that was like all his fault. I think he has a lot of bad people around him in his office.
He
I
does.
don't think Jared Kushner is a good influence or his daughter. And I think that, like, I don't know if you want to call it the shadow government or the Democrats in general, just shooting down everything he tries to do. So it's been tough. So I understand that he hasn't fulfilled everything. But sometimes I get annoyed. I'm like,
So, what do you like about him? What's the one thing that like attracted you to him?
I mean, he talks like that, like New Yorker. And I think that's what people get wrong about him. They think he's aggressive and nasty or whatever, but he's just kind of like that New York boomer like guy, you know? That
Yeah,
Queen, he's from Queens, you know?
yeah,
He's like the gangster kind of mentality, which is why I think black people should like him more. I mean, he's the ultimate gangster, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah,
like fucks beautiful bitches, has tons of money, very extravagant, tough like gangster New Yorker, like mafia type. Like I like that. I like that.
yeah,
That's my kind of thing. So
yeah, yeah.
and I mean,
That
I
was
liked what. Okay, so when Obama was becoming president or like running for president, they were praising him as like a young senator with limited experience as refreshing, and so with Trump coming in with limited political experience became a negative thing. But you know what I saw in him was that kind of non-politician thing, which is what the left criticized him about. I like that he's like not very like politician-y. So that's what won me over.
yeah, yeah. People ask me, and I'm like, yo, like, how do you not like him? You know, he's everything America has been for years. You know, he's straight out of an '80s comic book. You know,
Yeah.
he's like that. You know, Dick Tracy type character. You know, being like a Dick Tracy. You know, people who remember Dick Tracy.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, like I feel like the hate that people have towards Trump is really an illustration of how soft America has become.
yeah. He's like an archetypal, like male, like masculine figure, and I think that's why the left really despise him, and the feminists and the, like the pussy hat wears is that it's like the misogyny, you know. But it's not. It's just masculine, and that scares them. But it's
Yeah,
refreshing to people, for like to us.
yeah, yeah. You know, I always, you know, I like to see men be men. You know,
Right.
I don't like to see men cucked out. And it's really weird. People are like, "Oh my God, you hear what he said? He was so offended." And I'm like, "Oh, what did he say?" You know. So I'm like, I go look it up, and I'm just like, which part of this was offensive? Because it not because I want to be ignorant to their problems. Like I just can't see it. Like show me which part of this is offensive, and then they point it out, and I'll be like, that shit hurt your feelings.
Right.
I'm like, yo, you want to come live in Jersey for a couple of years? You know, like
Right.
you want to come live in New York because nobody gonna care about your feelings in New York.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing too about like this pacification culture is that like whatever happened to like sticks and stones may break your bones shit, you know? And it's like another thing about like therapy that I've never been to therapy out, but I'm just like I like alchemy, so it's all about like perfecting yourself and has a lot of inner Carl Jung kind of works and learning to overcome things. And um if you have a problem with what someone said, if something that someone says makes you feel a certain way, makes you feel bad, like that's something you have to deal with.
Yeah,
That's not the other person's issue. Same thing with me. I mean, I get my feelings hurt a lot. I'm really sensitive. I'm really emotional to negative attacks or comments. I mean, even sometimes I'm glancing over at the comments on this and I see people kind of contradicting me and I'm just like, ooh, it hurts. But that's something I have to work on for
yeah,
myself. That's
yeah.
my insecurity.
Right.
So
Um, Matt Finley said Hotep is perspicacious. I hope I said that right. Bring Morgan Chambers on. Uh, okay, I'll do that. I'll actually do that. I'm a little afraid to bring her on. Are you familiar with Morgan Chambers?
no, it's not.
Young black girl.
Morgan Chambers.
Was definitely a Trumper. Now is more Hotepish, but not Hotep. Um, Critical of the right, critical of the left type, moderate. Young black girl. I think she's very young. Um, and I don't think she's ready yet. I think that I'd love to give her a shot. I can't say I wouldn't want to give her a shot. Here's the problem with digital media. This shit is forever, right? And some of the opinions she has may affect her 10 years from now.
That's very considerate of you. Absolutely.
You know, so I kind of have to be protective or have several conversations with her and say, look, like, say this, don't say that. Pick and choose where you want to have your battles. But and I think she needs a lot more education. I mean, she's only like 18 years old, I believe. You know, I'm cool with her ex boyfriend. You know, I used to lecture them on the phone. They used to call me up on three way, and I'd lecture them for hours. Right? They'd ask me questions, and I'd answer them and give lectures. You know, so I was not a mentor, but helping out the youth a bit. So I'm familiar with Morgan. I do have her contact, but I just think she has a lot of growing to do. And I think that there's some media out there that understands that her youth is her flaw and have taken advantage of her and given her a microphone.
Right.
And because she's a young black girl, and they know they could use her to push certain types of rhetoric. And if I brought her on, I don't know what we discussed because, I look at her as a young girl, like this little girl. Right? She's like
Yeah,
18
it's
years
very
old.
considerate of you because I think that we both have a problem with that. We criticize when the left brings like young people on board to like give their ideology, but then we'll do the same thing on the right. And suddenly there's some teenager that is like saying something and we're all like cheering it on. And it's like, let's not have these young people like ruin their lives right now.
Yeah, yeah. Like I had a conversation with her before, and her and her boyfriend or ex boyfriend now, and they told me, hey, what should we do? Because the left, right, and it. I said, yo, like, have y'all started the business yet? Are y'all studying? Are y'all reading? Like, do you understand economics? I started asking them just like writing random like capitalist terms or free market capitalism terms. And they're like, I don't know what that means. I'm like, yo, like go study before you even try to come into this political conversation because above all of this stuff, there are a lot of factors that you need to understand first. The
Right.
stuff, the policies is for grown folks. And
Right.
and what the Marxists like to do, and the right has done it now, is they like to use the youth and throw them out there and use them as mouthpieces to hide
Exactly.
behind. Especially,
Exactly.
she got brown skin, so that, what comes along with that now if you're on the right.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'd love to have that. I think it would be a great conversation to have with her. I'm just afraid of her future, and I don't want her to say something that could either be incorrect and she looks bad or it's damaging, like
Yeah.
Nick Cannon type damaging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very considerate because not a lot of people do that. They go all in on like amazing, someone saying this and they're 14 or something. It's like, oh, it's not a good idea.
And it's like some of these conclusions aren't hard to come to, so I can't give you too much credit, right?
Right,
And
and you made a good point about that too. So I mean, I do focus on like culture because I mean I try to stay away from politics Saturdays, but I do have my opinions and we can talk about that.
right.
But it is mostly focused on culture. So when I worked at Daily Caller or Rebel, I hated having to like. I wanted to focus, especially at Rebel. I was able to at least hone in on a specific thing. So I would focus on cultural things, entertainment, those sorts of things, because that's my expertise. Okay, I do not know what the fuck's going on with DACA or the
Yeah.
economy,
Yeah.
Dow, or like those things. But if you are going to be a pundit or like be out there like that, you should definitely know more than like SJW is bad.
Right. Exactly. And have the historical context of these conversations because I'll take on, I've been on the phone with some young kids, and I wouldn't say Morgan, but some other young kids, and I'll role play as a SJW and destroy them, right? Because I know more history than them. I have more facts. I understand the arguments better. I've had leftists where I destroy them with leftist arguments. Like, yo, which one are you going to pick?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between, being well studied and not.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important aspect too is that like especially with this digital age of like Twitter and stuff, everything is like limited words, it's headlines. And I'm guilty of
Right.
it sometimes because I will share things and it's just I just read the headline. I didn't really read the article. And so we have to really get back to education. And like you said, not necessarily like education. I mean, I do believe in formal education and trying to get back into those institutions to like correct this damage. But I am also a big person of like independent learning on your own, and we should really value that, especially on the right, and not just blurt out talking points or a headline or some inflammatory statement because Trump is inflammatory. So, haha, isn't it so fun to be inflammatory? We should educate, we should learn, we should read books, we should know about things. And sometimes I'm surprised because I don't know about all this stuff a lot,
Right.
but what I do know, like from all my reading, being a nerd about stuff, I'm shocked that people don't know about things sometimes. I'm like, well,
Mhm.
didn't you read about like blah, didn't you dig deeper like into this at all?
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. We need to really value learning.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, the other thing is like the socialist conversation. People don't understand the difference between a socialist in the 1800s and now. It's two completely different things.
Hmm.
And some people on the left will say, "How are you going to say, how are you going to talk about Orwell? Orwell was a socialist." And I'm like, "Duh, that's what he was trying to warn us about," you know. And it's like, you don't think I'm studied up? I did my studies, and Orwell's another thing that people don't study, right?
Right.
Like
They mention
people
it a lot.
they mention it all day long. And you ask them, you read 1984? Nah, nah. You read Animal Farm? Nah, nah. You read any of his speeches and writings? Nah. So how are you using this Orwell term? You're just seeing it as a meme online,
Right.
picking up some of the context, but you don't know it like, if I were to say victory whiskey, right? Like there's a certain amount of people that I can talk to that know what I'm saying when I say victory whiskey or I say victory cigarettes. They know I'm talking about communist products from 1984. Um,
The bread and
so
circus or something. Yeah.
yeah, so I can like penetrate and deeper and see who really understands this stuff by using certain rhetoric and completely bypass all the people that just use Orwellian terms. Right, like who's really familiar with this guy's work, and that's how I try to like separate the studied from the unstudied. But yeah, I think the problem with today is the bar is so low. You got the talking points, you cover them, good. We got a job for you. you know, throw you straight to the top, and there's no respect for study.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of like the whole kid thing too, and not like digging deeper. It's like I said, we have our celebrities and it's manufactured. It is also manufactured. They see a brand, a package, and you have to put yourself in that box to make sure that you sell that sort of like package to out there. And the genuineness is like definitely a rarity out there.
Yeah, how you? Great chat.
Yeah, I hope so. Nice to
Yeah,
meet you. Get to know you a little bit more.
this is the first time we've spoken.
Yeah.
Um, Now, like when I see it in the timeline, I can kind of put a personality with it.
Yeah.
Before you were like, like some Nordic chick who's probably pro-white, and I don't have a problem with that, but I don't have the context to the personality, right?
Yeah.
And I have that now, so
Cool.
we can be more interactive, because usually, I have this thing where I don't check my timeline.
Mm.
It's a very rare thing for me to do. Um, some people are like, yo, you never retweet me. I'm like, yo, I'm never on Twitter. Like I'm on Twitter, but I ain't on Twitter.
Right.
I get on, I check the trending topics, see what I missed. It's like
Mm.
checking the morning newspaper.
Hmm.
Right? That's checking the trending topics is the morning newspaper now. So I check the trending topics. Okay, what's going on? Da, 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 da. I check out the stuff I care about. I don't comment. I'm just like, oh, y'all arguing about Will and Jada today? I don't have opinion on it. It's none of my business, and and then sometimes I'll do the little filter thing where I'll see. So under the trending topics, you can hit the filter and it says from people you follow. You ever
Oh, I
seen that
didn't know
before?
that.
Yeah. So I can go into trending topics and hit only people you follow, and the people I follow will only appear in the trending topics. And then I can see like who's joining the conversation. And I do that sometimes just to see, because I care about the people I follow and their opinions on this topic, to see who can give me more insight into this topic really fast, right? And it's like that's the length of it all. And then if I'm scrolling and checking the timeline, I got to be like uber bored, like I can't sleep, and I'm just trying to scroll to put myself to sleep, or it's like I need a break from. I'm a brain freak, so I have to go from one mental challenge to the next. So I go from like coding to chess to
Wow.
coding to chess to reading to chess, and I'm trying to like get better at chess. But then I have to have mental breaks. So like this scroll becomes like, all right, let me be a normal individual for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So now when I see you, I can just hit the retweet button and not feel like I'm supporting some asshole.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's really good to get to know you a little bit better. You are a little intimidating for me, but not in a scary way.
Am I?
Not anymore. Like, look at you smiling and shit. Like you are like really not, like you're good. You're good.
What?
You
What?
tell
What?
the
What? What?
smile.
What? Well, all right. So before today, like, why did you think I was intimidating? Cause what?
I mean, it's probably what people think about me too, because it's like our like us online is like just very intense about like what we're saying and thinking, and it's also not like pandery. Like
Mm,
we may be contradicting our own side at times. And I mean,
mm.
maybe sometimes you've had a tweet that also was like maybe just like pro black, that like maybe I was just kind of like, oh shit. Like at times, just kind of like, wonder what everyone thinks about me. But like, but I do know ultimately that it's like, those are for your best interest. And I respect that. And and I know that you're not going to turn around and like attack me for my interests and like my best interests and what I believe. So you're
Yeah.
not that scary, but I just knew that it's like, I don't know, it's like you have your beliefs and you stick to them, and even if it disagrees with someone, and that's intense.
Yeah, like when alt right became alt right. Do you remember when alt right would just meant like alternative conservative?
Yes.
Okay, like
Before Hillary's speech, yeah.
yeah, when the left hijacked alt right, and then Richard Spencer hijacked it, right? So before that,
He created the term, so I don't know where it like came from, but I like
he claimed he did.
okay.
I do not remember that at all. I remember alt right being a thing that black people were like down with, like we're alternative,
Yeah,
right?
like
Because
yeah,
we recognized how screwed up the right was too,
yeah.
and they took alt right away from us, right? And
And
I
I knew it because we were in preparation because we knew she was doing some all right speech. And I remember my husband at the time, he was just like, "Oh, this is going to be funny. This is going to be funny." And I was like, "No, man, this is going to be bad. It's going to ruin it." And
yeah
I mean, when I was still performing at the time at that theater, and I remember being like, knowing alt right, knowing like these things, what's going on, blah blah blah. And if I mentioned something or said alt right or posted said anything alt right, no one would know what the fuck I'm talking about. That was like our own little niche. But as soon as Hillary did her speech, suddenly everyone is an expert on alt right. They didn't
yeah
know what alt right was, and they're labeling you alt right. And it's like you don't know what alt right was last week. Now you suddenly are the expert. Okay.
yeah. So after it morphed into the racist organization that it was, and a lot of Nazis or whatever claimed it, I was still like, cool. Sounds like fun to me. Like I remember, people were posting, Nazi symbols in my mentions, and black people were questioning me, like, "Yo, you got Nazis following? Don't you feel uncomfortable?" And I'm like, "Not really. Like, have you ever played an online game before? Like, if I log onto my PlayStation 4, there's a 90% chance somebody gonna call me a nigga, right? Especially back in the day on Xbox playing Halo. As soon as they heard my vernacular, if I didn't put on my white voice, which I was damn sure wasn't gonna do, you know, they dropping M bombs or they got black jokes. So I'm like,
Oh my
you guys must be like super soft to care what people online. Plus you got to remember, I've been online since like trolling in AOL chat rooms in the early '90s, right?
I remember AOL. Yeah.
And you said all types of crazy. Like people said, like today is tame
Yeah.
compared to the shit that used to go down in the goddamn AOL chat rooms. They used to say shit where I was a kid. I'm like, I'm logging off. This shit sounds crazy. I don't know what kind of like this was like when goth was popular and like people were like cutting themselves, and they were
Oh
like
yeah.
blood specks and shit. And I was just like, all right, that's enough AOL for me to tell you I'm in the wrong chat room. But the internet was so wild that when I saw this whole alt-right thing happen and the people were like, yo, you're not worried about this. I'm like, this is kind of calm. Like I'm not afraid of some kid typing on his keyboard.
Right.
I'm afraid of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Like that's who worries me. Like people who have actual power. Some kid on the internet who's posting some Nazi symbol is actually projecting his lack of power.
That's true.
You know what
I
I mean?
gotta remember that when they go after me.
They're projecting their lack of power. That's exactly what that is. So you should look at it and say, oh, well, this white man has no power. You should laugh at him. But, they said, oh, you got all these racist white people that like you. And I did have a lot of racist white people that liked me a few years back. In fact, I staged the alt-right Hotep Nation Alliance.
Oh my
Right?
God.
Yeah, I staged it, right? And this shit went viral. You didn't hear about that?
I'm not sure, but I'm just like
Okay.
sitting here and I'm just like, okay, how do I maneuver this? Because my haters are going to find the stream. They're going to try to clip something, but I'm just a black guy talking about a Hotep Black Alliance with the alt. Like, I'm just like, how in the world are they going to twist this to make me look bad? I don't know, but they will. But yeah, go ahead. Tell me about it. What was this alliance like?
I just staged it. I staged, it was basically like the early stages of Groypers.
Yeah.
Like the early stage. Yes, you remember the Groypers when they first started out and the little green Pepe the Frog type thing.
Yeah.
So just a bunch of Pepes, right?
Yeah.
And they used to post shit and I'd laugh at it, and I just thought it was funny, some of the stuff. And they'd have some anti-black rhetoric and I just didn't feed it any problem. So I typed it up. There's a Hotep Nation alt-right alliance. But when it was the headline, it was a clickbait, like, what we do with headlines. It was clickbait. And when you read it, it was just historical context of the times that Marcus Garvey met with the KKK and the Nation of Islam met with the Nazis.
Wow. That's interesting.
So they were complaining, saying like, yo, how are you, Hotep Jesus, supposed to be pro-black, but you're fraternizing with the so-called enemy? And I'm like, well, have you done your history? Right. Because where I'm from, men sit down with their enemies and talk before they shoot each other, right? Like we're going back in the monarchies in history. The kings, they'd sit down, you'd sit at one at the table, they sit in there, you'd cuss each other out, get drunk all night, then you took the battlefield the next day, right? Or the kings would meet in the middle. They'd ride their horses out. I hate you. You stink. I hate the village.
Now go for them, everybody.
Yeah. Then they'd trot back and then they'd fight, right? Yeah. But you had that dialogue.
Right.
You said it earlier. The liberals don't even want to have any dialogue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, if these people are white and racist, I need to talk to them to find out what their motives are so I can understand it. The first thing in war is to understand your enemy. So I know more about these white racists than you do. So that's why I was able to correct a lot of black people on some of the rhetoric and so forth. But one thing I said was, if you're not careful in protecting these people's free speech, they're going to come for you next. And what happened? They started purging a whole bunch of black Twitter accounts, and a whole bunch of popular people from black Twitter got their accounts suspended.
Really?
Yes. Following that wave. I said, I told you you was complaining about speech online. That's going to be for everybody.
Right.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that your enemies or whatever should be able to say what they truly feel, because then and not like what they're trying to do. Like what Antifa tries to do with me is always try to like tell me what I believe and that I'm like a Nazi. And it's like when you deny it or like what I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, listen, if I have something to say, I don't have a job. You can't cancel me anymore. I'm already fucking canceled. Okay. I stream for a living now. Okay. I'm basically panhandling. Yeah. And like, what else do you think you could destroy? I would say what I want to say if I wanted to say it. So I don't have to hide and maneuver and like do all this stuff. So yeah, it should be safe for everyone to just be like, be as retarded as you want and let people judge from there.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. But I think the reason why they don't want to have dialogue with you is because if they actually sit down and talk to you, they'll find out how wrong they are, and they won't be able to paint you as a Nazi.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that happened too. Like, kind of recently, it was like it's weird because they just like refuse to listen. But like, it's funny when I try to like actually reason with them. I'm like, oh, really? Hold on a second. What are you talking about? What did I do? No, that's not what happened. Like, actually, I feel this way. Like, oh, weren't you on Gavin's show when he said this? I was like, okay, I laughed at a joke, but no, fuck Gavin too. He's thrown me under the bus a few times. Like, I'm not friends with him. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm no more friends with him than Ann Coulter or like Katie Torrer is friends with him or Richard Spencer's. I mean, everyone's been on a show. So like, okay, are we like really having a real conversation or are you just trying to like yell and scream, you Nazi, you Nazi? Gotcha. Okay. You want to gaslight me. That's what you want to do. Okay.
That's it.
Cool.
That's it. We're in the age of gaslighting now.
Yep.
Yeah. Ah. It's all good. I think we need to have these conversations. And I think people just need to keep opening up dialogue so we can understand each other better. Because even when I had the debate with All Right, I got a chance to understand them better. They got a chance to understand me better, and I realized it's just a bunch of kids playing around with a pipe dream.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
that's the thing. I mean, I respect like more of the like intellectual types, like even if I disagree with them and they have more, study and education behind them and they can talk about adult concepts, not just like, oh, N-word, oh, joggers. Oh, what a
Yeah.
jogger, and it's just like, okay, yeah. Oh, you have no eggs, ha ha ha, whore, ha. It's like, okay, or do you want to have a dialogue about art and culture and nudity, like whatever, or like I
Yeah.
don't mind disagreeing and having this conversation, but there is definitely a buttload of like, oh, got you, said something mean. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And that's the stuff I you know, because it's funny what the left will do is they'll highlight those individuals,
Yes, yes.
and it's like, nah, that's not the totality of the group. So it's like those are fringe kids playing around, like,
Yeah.
and you might get affiliated with them just because some of your beliefs might be similar, right? So
Yeah, so that's how I kind of got targeted the other day, but because it was like, oh, like you're on this like white supremacist podcast. I was like, that's not me. It doesn't even sound like me. What? You're mistaken. Sorry, not me.
what stream
Like,
was it?
I don't even know. Someone tagged that's what it was. Someone tagged me in something, and I saw just like a podcast, but like I didn't even listen to it like a second of it. It was just like I'm just like on Twitter, like things going on. Someone they tagged Lady Alchemy, so they didn't even tag Martina. They tagged Lady Alchemy. So
Yeah.
to me, that is like that's my art account. So
Yeah.
I assume like you're tagging me in something artsy. And when I looked at it, it was like a still of like two white kids, like kids, and like doing their like traditional like garb, like Western garb, doing some dance, like folk dance. And
Right.
I've done that as a kid. We have traditional Croatian dance and the kolo. And like I've worn those traditional garbs as kids and dancing. I've been to Poland. I've videotaped kids doing traditional dancing. Like I'm an artist. My Lady Alchemy account was tagged, so I was like, cool, liked it. Next thing I know, it's like, oh, Jack, your white supremacist wife is on this podcast. I was like, that's not me. And then it's like, oh, well, you liked it. So they keep moving the goalposts. Like, you liked it. Well, why'd you like it? I was like, I saw kids dancing. Like, like I didn't think that much about it. I was tagged in something and I saw dancing and I'm a dancer. So, and they're like, well, why are white supremacists tagging you and stuff? I'm like, I don't know. They probably just like know that I'm like a right winger and I'm into like the arts. Like,
Yeah.
I like now. I can't make up how they just try to. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. They gotta create that, otherwise they'll be unemployed.
Yeah, and I tried reasoning with them up to the point where it's like they're properly like gaslight. It's like, okay, so that's a done conversation.
Well, you're better than me because I just block people.
I gotta learn to do that more. I try to reason. I really, really do.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from women. They're like, but I gotta talk it out first, and I'm like, I ain't talking about shit, motherfucker. If you come at me wrong, you accuse me of some shit I didn't do, you getting blocked. It's like there's no conversation to be had. Like I have too much going on in my life. I'm doing too much positive out here to be sidetracked by some kids that want to play on the internet.
That's true.
And I
Yeah.
turned 40 this year. Like I'm a grown ass man. Like y'all on the internet playing like some little kids. Like I don't got time to be playing no kids. Y'all my daughter age. My daughter's 16. Y'all my daughter age. Like
What? You have a
yeah,
6-year-old daughter.
yeah,
Wow. Me?
yeah. Right. So it's just like when I see these little kids, playing online, I'm just like, yo, my daughter can handle y'all. Like, and she don't even got time for this shit. She's
Ain't nobody got time for that. See, that's my black reference.
like, but that's why I say, go ahead and just block, man, because they're not even gonna give you honest dialogue.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I got to
You
take that
know,
advice. It's just the sensitive side of me that tries to reason.
if you can find a black liberal or even a white liberal that will come on my channel, please let me know. I've failed at doing this.
All
I
right.
tried a few weeks ago. I said, "Hey, I want to talk to a black liberal, um, prominent. Of course, somebody who's got some stain." And Mark Lamont Hill responded and asked what we're going to talk about. And I'm like, nigga, what we talking about? We talking about 2020, motherfucker. It's like everybody knows what the conversation is. So I just responded back politely, race and riots in America as it is today. Um, I didn't hear back. I followed up with him about a day or so later, and then he responded back with, "We don't even know who you are, right?" And I'm just like,
Okay.
"Oh wow, that's how y'all playing it. You just responded to me that." So it's like, okay. But then he went on Candace Owens' show and got slaughtered. So that I guess that was payback. Because I wasn't even gonna come at him like that. Like I really want to sit down and talk
Yeah.
and dialogue and discourse. I don't want to argue. I'm done with
That's
arguing.
that's what I kind of miss, and I do remember seeing it in 2016 was debates where
Mm,
posers would come onto a stage, shake hands, get introduced, and then they have a topic, and then they go back and forth without talking over each other, and there was
right.
debate. I don't see that too much anymore.
Nah. Nah. It's too much bad blood out here. I had a debate a few weeks ago and I couldn't even hold back my bad blood, and I had to apologize to everybody for the fact that I couldn't hold back my bad blood. But there's so much bad blood out here. It's hard to do that. And I think what happened was these people didn't come to the conversation wanting to find middle ground. It's like people come to the conversation to prove their side right. And I'm not coming to the conversation to try and prove my side right. I'm coming to the conversation to try to understand your side of the conversation because I know you're not going to meet me in the middle, but I'll find a middle for us. I did it with conservatives and reparations, right? Like conservatives, I said reparations. They're like, oh, that's a bad idea. I said, well, what about this? They go, oh yeah, reparations, right? Like I know how to just find a
Yeah.
middle ground for people that aren't willing to budge because I'll just outsmart you, you know. Um, and I'm willing to do that with the liberals, but I can't get one. So if you got somebody,
I'll think about it. I wrote it down.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Wonderful conversation. You're a wonderful individual. I wish you the best of luck in everything you do. I hate that you have been blacklisted from burlesque. You can't do any more burlesque at all, or it's just hard to find gigs.
I don't know. I'm pretty canceled, but I
Yeah.
got to think outside the box right now.
Yeah, you might have to start up your own circuit,
Yeah.
ground zero.
Yep.
But yeah, I think you're headed in the right path. You're doing the art and all that stuff, the comic book, the magazine. Keep pushing. You got my support. If you need anything, let me know.
Thank you.
No doubt. It's
Appreciate
been
it.
another uncomfortable conversation, people. I hope you enjoyed our chat. Much love to Krista Mana, showing us some monetary love. We appreciate you. Yes, join the Hotep Nation Patreon, patreon.com/Hotep Nation. We are a nonprofit organization, 501 organization. And that's exactly what we'll do. We'll go out here and we'll do our best for the community. As soon as COVID subsides. We plan on doing fintech workshops for kids, um, probably around the high school age, because I think they get left out a lot. But yeah, that's all I got to say. I'm signing off. Peace out.